Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, September 3rd. Thank you for being here. We know you have many choices to make every single day, and we are so very, very grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. Today, I have a feeling is going to be one of those days. Okay, that's already happening. Friends, I need your help pushing us out to the FYP, please. So if you could tap like crazy, gift like crazy, even if they're tiny dinos or hearts or whatever the drill, roses, just to kind of keep us active, please. Please consider completing all of your various daily tasks. I appreciate that very, very much. As I was saying, we appreciate you being here. Today could be one of those days. Obviously, we will be covering the press conference, the Survivors press conference, which happens out on the Capitol steps at 10:30 this morning. We've been talking about it in our mod chat, and I would like to offer this. We appreciate obviously the support that everyone shows us every single day, but there's not enough trigger warnings that I could ever possibly say. Again, we don't know necessarily what to anticipate from the press conference, but if Nancy Mace's tears in the halls of Congress after she left a congressional session meeting with some of these survivors, if that is any indication as to what we might expect today, I have a feeling it's going to get quite emotional. So please protect your peace at all times. Please protect your peace at all times. We'll cover that at 10:30, and we'll do our best to try to navigate through it, but thank you for being here. We have a gifting goal today. Please consider subscribing. Normally, we talk about us being a crowd-funded entity. I would like to ask, I've always appreciated any generosity folks show us through gifts and donations, but please, instead, today, there are so many amazing women who are creators in this space who don't get nearly the traffic that they should. So please, if you do find them either hosting a panel or sitting on a panel, hosting a live or part of a live, please gift them because it's long overdue. Again, thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate it. I think first, before we get into our topic, I want to just address thank you guys for helping us get that goal so early. I appreciate that. Let me fix this real quick so we can stay focused and stay out in the FYP because this is an important day. We do need to address the press conference yesterday. I'm not even sure if I would call it a press conference necessarily, whatever that was in the Oval Office. And then in hindsight, looking back on what we discussed yesterday about making sure that we're not speculating. So I'm glad that we didn't speculate. So President showed up, and it was an interesting environment because it was heavily controlled. Not what you normally see, a select number of journalists. Ones that would typically you would normally see in the press gaggle were not there. And it was safe spaces, and you could identify some of the reporters, Peter Ducey getting to ask multiple questions and things like that. So anyway, there were some moments that I think we should discuss before we get into our topic today. A lot of the information that we'll be discussing today, we will make public. We'll be talking about the discharge petition. There's a lot of activity in the Capitol as of yesterday. As soon as they got back into session, we're going to do our best. This is where I say this lovingly every single day that I have the best mods in the business, and they are busting their ass to try to keep us updated. So hearts in the chat for the mods everywhere, please. Thank you very, very much. All right, so let's just go to some of the highlights or lowlights from yesterday. I must say it was a wild endeavor. As soon as he got off script, the early part about talking about Rocket City, and by the way, he genuinely thinks that he named Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City. It's always been named Rocket City. In fact, we know that so much that the minor league baseball team that is there, by the way, they're called the Trash Pandas, which is probably the best name of any sporting team I've ever heard in my life, but they're known as the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So it's always been known as Rocket City. Anyway, there's that. So let's talk about a few things. I'm going to bring up this picture because he's going to be referring to this image. Now, many of you have probably seen the video. There's video of whatever that item is being tossed out a second floor window. And you can see that window is obviously open. Okay, so this to me was just, it says so much about who the President of the United States is. Here you go.
There is a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residents upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated. So actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
So that's a fake video?
Well, it's got to be, because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that, because there's cameras all over the place, right? Including yours. No, but every window, I've never seen a window that's, in fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. Okay. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed. And number two, each window weighs about 600 pounds. You have to be pretty strong to open them up. No, that has to be, where was the window? Let me see.
So Peter Ducey walks over and shows him the video. I forget, it's filmed from across the street.
Maybe from the renovations?
Maybe from the renovations. Somebody gave him an out. Somebody gave him an out.
This is on the 15th Street side, I think?
Backside.
So right here?
Yeah, those windows are sealed. Those windows are they're all sealed. You can't open them.
What you're saying regarding the federal...
It's the kind of thing they do. And one of the problems we have with AI, it's both good and bad. If something happens really bad, just blame AI. But also they create things, you know, it works both ways. If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI. But there's truth to it, because I see so many phony things. I saw something as I was growing up, from the time I was a baby till now. I said, who did that? It was AI generated. So it's a little bit scary, to be honest with you. But those windows are all very heavily sealed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That's the president of the United States. When he was a baby, So when he was a baby, when he couldn't figure something out, it was blame AI. Here's the thing. You heard someone behind him say, Mr. President, maybe it's the renovations that are actually happening in the White House, because, the windows in the White House are sealed shut and can't be opened. But over Labor Day weekend, around September 1st, right, a video surfaced online showing someone inside the White House, apparently second-floor windows, tossing down a dark bag and another long white object. A White House spokesperson confirmed that the footage is genuine. They explained the incident depicted a contractor performing regular maintenance while the president was away. President Trump, appearing before reporters, the sound you just heard, dismissed the video entirely, calling it probably AI generated. He argued it couldn't be real because, in his view, the White House windows are sealed, bulletproof, and weigh around 600 pounds, making them inoperable. Snopes has also verified the video as authentic and corroborated the White House's explanation that it featured routine maintenance by a contractor while the president was out of town. Additionally, digital forensics experts found no signs of typical AI-generated video, such as inconsistencies in lighting or motion, which suggests the footage is genuine. So, again, if you listen to the sound, let me fix it. If you listen to the sound, there is somebody standing behind him who knew that, yes, they opened the windows for routine maintenance. They were giving him an out, and he still decided to go down the AI road. I think it's safe to assume that the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list predator has no fucking idea what AI is. But can you imagine? First of all, I'm super psyched the reporter who asked that question, I'm not even sure who it was. It could have been Ducey. But asked that question. I mean, it's a layup. You could have just said, oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're doing routine maintenance. It happens all the time. Instead, you blame AI, and then you talk about it in terms of, when I was a baby, the AI in my crib, I didn't know what it was. Mama? Dada? Okay, that's the president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. All right, moving on to some other highlights. We talked about Rocket City. So this is an interesting reference to the move of Space Force to Huntsville.
I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting.
Oh.
So they have automatically crooked elections.
Right, automatically.
And we can't have that.
Okay.
When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections because that's what that means.
Right.
So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, Spain.
Okay. Okay, cool. So you're punishing Colorado, even though, whatever. Moving on. And then the two that really stood out to me were when there was asked the questions about mass unaliving events at schools. I would like you to listen to his solution.
Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. It'd have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, but I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just, we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have, there's something going on, and it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
What? Exactly, Gregory. Lord, I was born a rambling man. What even was that? What even was that? The question was about the National Guard. Would you ever consider sending in the National Guard? And then we pivot to doors that lock on the inside and on the outside. But wait, there's more. Initially, he was just given a script to read, right? He was given a script to read to talk about moving Space Force to Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City. He was given a script, okay? And as soon as he went off script, it got really bad. This was some of the worst dribble I have ever heard. Here you go.
The United States, everything in the world would die. It's true. It's so powerful. It's so big. And I made it really big in the first 4 years. Then it started to degenerate with what this Biden administration did. But we built it up to a level that I never thought we could be at this quickly.
Right.
We're the hottest. We're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things.
But
plus it gets us great negotiating. I settled 7 wars.
But
and
you didn't.
Numerous of those wars were because of trade.
Nope.
And
you didn't settle 7, Peepaw. Sorry. And then there's just a couple of more. This one, let me see. I'll save that one for last. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's play this one. MAGA, come get Peepaw, please, because it's getting bad. Hold on. He's talking about. Well, here you go.
It's going to be crime-free, and it's going to be spick and span. You'll be proud of Washington again. Go ahead, please.
Sir, China's having a massive military parade that President Putin and Kim Jong-un will be attending. Do you interpret that as a challenge to the U.S.? And are you concerned at all about those countries?
No.
some sort of counterweight?
Not at all. China
Not concerned? Okay.
needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them.
Really?
No, I don't see that at all, no.
Maybe one more.
And I had actually a very good meeting with President Putin a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if anything comes out of it. If it doesn't, we'll take a difference.
So in typical dictator fashion, you lead with this perception of strength. So to him, it's all about the saber rattle. It's the strong man. No, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of China. I'm not afraid. We've got the strongest military in the world. We're about war fighters, the warrior ethos, strong man. You know, pull yourself up by your tiny dick. Wah, rah, rah. America, America, America. Meanwhile, China has gathered people who are tired of the West. So Xi Jinping has organized this and did a military parade. Right? He's showing the world that, you know what? You may not like us, okay, but look at the option. We're stable. We've got the best supply chain in the world. We are building canals to bring cruise ships over mountains, and Peepaw is talking about windows in the White House and how they're 600 pounds. And Peepaw is talking about whatever the fuck that was that we've listened to. So he's trying to convince his base, just don't look at what's happening as the new world order is aligning in front of our faces. With the economic power of China, and, you know, obviously they're going to do whatever they're going to do with Russia, similarly with India. And so this is what you voted for, MAGA. And I want to address one thing really quickly, just because I like what he talked about how they're cleaning up the crime. These rates, all the cities with the highest unaliving rates in our country are all Republican-led. Jackson, Mississippi, 77.2 per 100K. Birmingham, Alabama, 59 per 100K. St. Louis, Missouri, 40 per 100K. Memphis, Tennessee, 40 per 100K. New Orleans, Louisiana, 45 per 100K. The unaliving rate in Chicago is 21.4 per 100K. Los Angeles, 8.4 per 100K. It is political theater. That's all it is. It's an attempt to distract, not us. It's an attempt to distract his base. He keeps them focused on brown people and black people as the threat, instead of realizing that he's the fucking threat. He's the one, because he's losing his shit. It is dripping out of his brain as he speaks. Again, he thinks of it in terms of military strength. And you can't argue that the United States military is the strongest military in the world. What Xi Jinping and Modi and other sort of, you know, non-traditional democratic leaders are doing gathering in China is talking about economic warfare. And they are on the precipice of kicking the United States' ass. And MAGA voters voted for it because your boy is fucking stupid. And don't forget, on Monday, the Trump family crypto biz launched. Reports are $5 billion in a few days. America first, right? America first. Letting in 600,000 Chinese students. What happened to that? What happened to that? What happened to spending billions and billions of dollars paying other countries to take deportees? Is that America first? You're paying other countries to do it. So is there an echo? I don't think I'm echoing. I just see one person saying that. I think we're good. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. We are still getting our restrictions, so I need your help. Let's see if we can increase the shares. If you could tap like crazy, please gift. I appreciate that. As a reminder, again, we are crowdfunded here, but I would like to ask that you don't crowdfund me today. Instead, like I said, there are amazing women who host lives and who are often on panels. Please consider donating to them, because long overdue. So thank you in advance for that. I appreciate it. Anyway, that was a wild state of affairs that we saw. What we witnessed yesterday, and what we've been witnessing for the past month, in my opinion, is the demise of MAGA. because you've got just this person who is just incapable of putting any coherent thoughts once together. But what about Biden? What about Biden? What about Biden? All right, I think do I have one more for you? I think that's it. I think that is it. Yes. Okay. Shifting gears. So there's a bit of a fight. And again, as a reminder, we are going to be carrying the survivors press conference today. That's I believe it's at 10:30, and it'll be on the Capitol steps in DC. And so what we're hearing, what do we got? What'd you do for me, Gregory? Yeah. Sure. Why not? Before see that rambling perpetrated by the president yesterday. There you go. Okay. So on a serious note, there will be apparently, and according to a lot of reporting, there will be girls at the time who have never gone public before. And what we're hearing is that a lot of them have decided to come forward because of, discussions about potential pardons for Ghislaine Maxwell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would like to first acknowledge their bravery. I'm not sure if all of them or some of them or what the number was, but many of them met with members of Congress yesterday. And again, from some of the reactions that we've seen from people, so I have a little bit of sound on that, and then that will kind of take us to where I want our conversation to go, and we're going to be talking specifically about what we can expect, because like I said, there's a lot of churning in DC at the moment. A lot of people are trying to figure out a way to navigate through this. And I don't know how they are. So this is Speaker Mike Johnson, and his name is important because obviously he's the House Speaker. But I've got some interesting news, because as of last night, before this story broke this morning, there were two camps, specifically in D.C. There's the Thomas Massie Ro Khanna bipartisan camp, which is intended to get the discharge petition across the finish line. And I'll explain to you what that is in just a moment. And then there was Mike Johnson. So the bipartisan side, meaning they want everything to come out, everything, all of it. Mike Johnson and his team, with James Comer at the oversight side, basically just want the oversight committee to continue to do its work. We got information from the DOJ. Problem is, it's like individual pages, almost like screenshots of the PDF, and they're not searchable. So once again, and I was thinking about this, this should be the easiest vote every Republican has ever had to make. Their own party and many of their own constituents are frustrated because of the deflections, because of the denials, because of the games they've been played. This should be the easiest vote they have ever made. They've got political cover. Whether they do or not, they should still do the right fucking thing and get all the information out there. But this should be the easiest vote they've ever had to make in their lives. Listen, would you like to expose people who are predators towards kids? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then sign the discharge petition so that we can get everything. So we'll be watching that. So there's reporting that Ro Khanna, the Democrat, has already got confirmation from all 212 Democrats that they're going to sign it. And then there's 13 or so names, 13 or so names that have been connected to Thomas Massie, who's on the Republican side. Only needs 6 signatures, because the discharge petition requires you to get 218. All right. So before I get too specific into what the discharge petition is and what the language is around the discharge petition, what I'm going to play to you now is sound from some of the members of Congress, both Republican and Democrat, who met with some of these survivors last night. Mike Johnson will start. His words are interesting.
Good afternoon, everyone. We just spent more than 2 hours with 6 of the Epstein victims, survivors. Some of the bravest women I've ever met. They're very courageous. I would describe it as heartbreaking and infuriating that justice has been delayed so long. Some of the women in the room began to be groomed by Epstein and his accomplices, Ghislaine Maxwell and the others, 30 years ago. The objective here is not just to uncover, investigate the Epstein evils, but also to ensure that this never happens again, and ultimately to find out why justice has been delayed for these ladies for so very long. It is inexcusable, and it will stop now because the Congress is dialed in on this.
The victims themselves have stated that this is a lot bigger than I think anyone anticipated.
Her quote is, the victims themselves have stated that this is a lot bigger than I think anyone anticipated. This is Anna Paulina Luna, Republican.
We are obviously going to be requesting the SARS reports from Treasury, and also to
SARS reports are suspicious activity reports. That's something that the Treasury tracks for large transactions, so that everybody's on a SARS watch, so to speak.
Following up on that, there's some very rich and powerful people that need to go to jail.
One of them said something to the effect
Jasmine Crockett.
Of either you all are all very serious and honest about this, or you're very good actors. We gonna find out who's real, and we're gonna find out who the real actors are. For people that would want.
So her comment was, apparently a member of the majority party, the Republican Party, said you're either all, serious about this, or you're all really good actors. Think about that for a second. The GOP, the party of Christian values, who cares about protecting the innocent. Okay.
Wonder how high are the stakes here? This is a matter of life and death. Because Virginia Jeffrey took her life after decades of failure, and there are victims that can no longer come forward because they're in a fetal position, so broken by the weight of what they've been carrying, shame that they've been carrying when it is not their shame to carry.
So again, that was Ayanna Pressley. So I'm trying to think this through. And by the way, I asked our mod team this morning because I value their opinion so much as to whether or not we should be talking about and carrying the victims' statements today, because I know full well that it's going to be triggering for a lot of people. I will apologize in advance if this revisits trauma, but we want to promote survivors' voices because they deserve to be heard. That's why we're going to do it. So we're committed to doing that, and I will remind everybody in advance. I think the press conference starts at 10:30. If it's too much for you to take, please protect your peace at all cost. We will do our best to keep the live up. Who knows what's going to happen, but that's our commitment to you guys. I appreciate that. Okay, so I think that testimony is interesting from Jasmine Crockett, literally sitting in a panel with people who ultimately would be deciding whether or not this information goes public, and some people on the Republican Party questioning the validity of the survivors. It would be really fucking simple if we could just do that. Okay? I'm not going to tolerate any of you pigs today. Most of the time, the chat just likes to play with you because you're so stupid. We're not going to tolerate it today. It's just not going to happen. Mods, you know what to do. Listen, this is going to be, we don't know, we're not going to speculate, but I would suggest that there's video, you can find it. There's video of Nancy Mace walking out of the meetings with the survivors. Nancy Mace, of all people, who I don't think is like the Tin Man, doesn't have a fucking heart, and she is sobbing. Whatever that means. And the thing for me is, obviously, we've been talking about this for a while. I don't give a fuck whose names are connected to this. I don't care who it is. I want them all to face justice. Every single one of them. Every one of them. And that's why I say before, it should be the easiest vote for Republicans to make. The easiest vote. Without question. Every single person. You know how we always try to find common ground on things? At least we do. Like, what is the topic? What can we find common ground on? We used to think maybe that it was corporate corruption. Nope. We used to think that the rich are getting richer. Nope. All that kind of shit. But this seems like the easiest vote because they've got political cover. Like I said earlier, not that they need it, not that they should need it, but there's people in their own districts, except for the far right red who just don't fucking care. Remember, 47% of Republicans surveyed said even if Trump's incriminated, they would still support him. Okay? But there are a lot of people. There's a lot of people. All right? There's a lot of people that would want their elected officials So the fact that we're talking about just trying to get 6, so again, there's 4 names so far that have signed on the discharge petition. That'd be Thomas Massey, who's the co-sponsor. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's Lauren Boebert, and it's Nancy Mace. And Mace and Greene have built their entire political career, their firebrand careers, on the protection of the innocent. They've used horrible anti-trans rhetoric, of course, but they've been committed to saying we want to expose trafficking and pedophilia, all those kinds of things. So they have signed on. And like I said, Ro Khanna has reported that he's got all 212 Democrats to sign. So are we down to 2? So let's get into the specifics of what a discharge petition is, what it means, and what we might expect. Okay. Let's see. So the discharge petition, let me just back up a second. I'm not sure if I have all the information here. Okay. Discharge petition is a rarely used procedural tool in the U.S. House of Representatives that allows a majority of members, 218 of the 435, to force a bill out of committee and onto the House floor for consideration, even if the leadership or the committee chair doesn't want it to move forward. So if you know how the House works, right, it's the speaker is the gate. The speaker decides what items come to the floor. Even if something passes out of committee, he's the one that ultimately says, we're going to vote on this, yes or no. The discharge petition is available to any member of the House, all 435 members. And all they need is a majority of people to sign the petition. They sign the petition, it forces a floor vote. There's nothing the speaker can do. So that's why that number, it doesn't really happen very often. Oftentimes it's the minority party that will introduce a discharge petition, and then they can't get enough votes on the other side. This, because it's bipartisan and because it's such a it's the topic of our time, in my opinion, at least in modern times. This is just a unique endeavor because of what it means and what it's about and what it stands for. Okay, so as I mentioned before, there were 2 clear tracks here. There's a lot of division in the GOP currently. And again, why? But we know why. There is the Massey-Khanna discharge petition, and I'm going to read it for you in just a second. And then there's the House oversight with Republican leadership in the House, right? Attempting to say, let's just let them continue. So they want what Mike Johnson and James Comer have signaled is they want to introduce an opposition piece of legislation that says we just want to guarantee that the House oversight will basically continue what they're doing. And we know what they're doing is not transparent. Because they were, I think it's 33 or 34,000 pages that were reduced or that were released, right? And they're not searchable. They're like these PDFs. They're not. I was trying to find shit on them last night. First of all, I couldn't open it. Then I figured out a back way to get in. By the way, I figured out some tech. I know, shocker. And they're not searchable. You want a searchable PDF. So those clear divisions, although there's now rumors that Mike Johnson is becoming more on board with the discharge petition. So does that mean they're gonna, that means they're gonna negotiate? I don't know. Before I get into the discharge petition specifically, it is my belief that Donald Trump and the Trump administration has always felt like Congress is going to bail his ass out by stepping in and not getting this information out to the public. He knows he's in the files. He was told he was. Pam Bondi lied to the American public. Kash Patel lied to the American public. We've not heard from Dan Bongino in months. In weeks. He's probably just being fettered out the back door along with the trash thrown from the second floor of the White House. We know he's in there. We know he's in there because he acknowledges it by calling it a Democratic hoax. So we know he's there. So it is my belief that he's always felt that Congress was in his corner. Right? Congress was there to protect him no matter what, no matter how bad things got, no matter how bad it got, Congress was always going to bail him out. I don't think that's the case anymore. Because how do you go back and face your district when people in your own district are telling you that you got to be releasing this shit? And, Republicans care about power and they're already on the losing end politically. And now this is the last straw for them if they don't come clean. Okay, so this is what the discharge petition says. It's HRes 581. I'm just going to read it to you. Let me water up. Everybody keep tapping, please. We've got 210 shares There's 1,200 people in here. If we could bump that up a little bit, and if we could continue to bang on the likes again, one more time, we are normally crowdfunded here. I would ask that you please do not do that today. Instead, save your green app, your blue app, all those things for the amazing women creators that exist in this space. They deserve your attention. They deserve your love. They deserve your support. If you see them on panels, do the same thing, especially those that dedicate their time to hosting lives. So please, on behalf of our team, please do that today. Please do that every day, but please in particular do that today because we believe women. All right. So it's HRES 581. There's boilerplate language in the beginning, but I'm just going to read you the meat, okay? Short title, this act may be cited as the E-Files Transparency Act. No later than 30 days, this is the petition, this is the discharge petition that they want to get signed so that it becomes a floor vote, okay? Not later than 30 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall, subject to subsection B, make publicly available in a searchable and downloadable format all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in the possession of the Department of Justice, including the FBI, United States Attorney's Office, that relate to 1. JE, including all investigations, prosecutions, or custodial matters. G. Maxwell, flight logs, travel records, including but not limited to manifests, itineraries, pilot records, and customs or immigration documentation for any aircraft, vessel, or vehicle owned, operated, or used by JE or any related entity. Individuals, including government officials, named or referenced in connection with Epstein's criminal activities. Yes, Jess, I got the shin kick. Civil settlements, immunity or plea agreements, or investigatory proceedings. 5, entities, corporate, nonprofit, academic, or governmental with known or alleged ties to trafficking or financial networks. Any immunity deals, non-prosecution agreements, plea bargains, or sealed settlements involving or his associates. 7, internal DOJ communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge, not charge, investigate, or decline to investigate or his associates. 8, all communications, memoranda, directives, logs, or metadata concerning the destruction, deletion, alteration, misplacement, or concealment of documents, recordings, or electronic data related to Schmiestein, his associates, his detention, and his passing, or any other investigative files. 9, documentation of E's detention or passing, including incident reports, witness interviews, medical examiner files, autopsy reports, and written recordings detailing the circumstances and cause of his passing. Prohibited grounds for withholding. No record shall be withheld, delayed, or redacted on the basis of any of the following. 1, embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. Permitted withholdings. The Attorney General may withhold or redact the segregable portions of records that A, contain personally identifiable information of victims or victims' personal and medical files and similar files, the disclosure of which would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. B, depicts or contains child sexual abuse, CSAM, as defined under 18 U.S. Code 2256 and prohibited under 18 U.S. Code 2252 through 2252A, would jeopardize an active federal investigation on or ongoing prosecution, provided that such withholding is narrowly tailored and temporary. D, depicts or contains images of passing, physical abuse, or injury of any person, or E, contain information specifically authorized under criteria established by an executive order to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy and are in fact properly classified pursuant to such executive order. 2, all redactions must be accompanied by a written justification published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress. 3, to the extent that any covered information would otherwise be redacted or withheld as classified information under this section, the AG shall declassify that classified information to the maximum extent possible. A, if the Attorney General makes a determination that covered information may not be declassified and made available in a manner that protects the national security of the U.S., including methods or sources related to national security, The AG shall release an unclassified summary for each of the redacted or withheld classified pieces of information. All decisions to classify any covered information after July of this year, so again, this was submitted prior to Mike Johnson sending them home, shall be published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress, including the date of classification, the identity of the classifying authority, and any unclassified summaries of the justification. Section 3, report to Congress. Within 15 days of completion of the release required under Section 2, the AG shall submit, shall, not may, shall submit to the House and to the Senate committees on the judiciary a report listing 1, all categories of records released and withheld, 2, a summary of redactions made, including a legal basis, and 3, a list of all government officials and politically exposed persons named or referenced in the released material with no redactions permitted under subsection B. That's what we want. Okay? So again, that it's in the general chat. It's another reason for you guys to join Discord if you want. It's HRES 581, bipartisan sponsorship. Okay? So, Sean, I hear you. I'm not sure if it was on. MF Vibes, I hear you. I hear you that we're going to be disappointed. I hear you. I don't feel that way in this case. I really don't. Because, again, it's only going to take 6 Republican names. So we're tracking this. I just want to check in with our mod team to see... I don't see any updates on any more names. I've got some additional reporting on that topic. Anyway, that is the discharge petition. That is the expectation that Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, in support of the survivors of this case, because we believe women, that anything and everything you got, putting pressure on the Department of Justice because of the lies that they have told all along. The gloves are off, and you've got this division in Congress right now, okay? By the way, somebody just asked, we are working on putting this shirt in the merch store. It says women don't owe you shit, in case you don't know. We used to have a version of it, but we changed it. So we will be putting an item back in the merch store that says that. So anyway, because it's true. All right. So the additional reporting on that as of this morning from Yahoo News, the press conference will carry that at 10:30 today. I think it starts at 10:30. Yes, 10:30 at the House Triangle. This is the story. Let's see. Some victims, survivors of convicted offender J.E. are set to speak at the press conference today at the Capitol. Bipartisan effort is organized by Reps Ro Khanna from California, Thomas Massie from Kentucky, who predict it will be explosive. Press conference will feature 10 women, some of whom have never spoken publicly before. Khanna said they will be telling their story, and they'll be saying clearly to the American public that they want the release of the files for full closure on this matter. Massie filed a discharge petition, of which we just read, for the E-Files Transparency Act, which would force floor action on the bill if 218 representatives sign on. Khanna has confirmed all 212 Democrats will sign the petition, and Massie has garnered the support of 12 Republicans to date. 134 signatures so far. Again, we have a document that's tracking this real time. It's sortable. It's in our general chat, or the mods will put it in the general chat, and you can see the names so far that we know that have signed it. The Republicans that have signed it so far are Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and of course Thomas Massie, who's the co-sponsor, which means you only need 2 more. The press conference follows the House Oversight Committee's release of its first tranche of documents on E on the first day Congress is back in session after the Labor Day holiday. Massie told reporters outside the Capitol that the release was only 1% of what they possess, and 97% of that has already been released, which is what we know. So what we know from what has been released so far is this information that's already been made available to the public. So the cover-up is in full swing, right? The cover-up is full swing. All 212 Democrats have signaled that, yes. Again, I say this to you. It should be the easiest vote Republicans have ever had to have made. The easiest vote, because they've got cover. Politics is about that. Let's be real. Like I said, I'll say it again. You shouldn't need cover for something like this. Do the right fucking thing. But they've got political cover. It should be the easiest vote they've ever had to make. Ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia from California, also said that most of what was released by the committee was already public. What we need now is full compliance with the subpoena. The Attorney General, who once said all the files were on her desk, should release all the files immediately. Members of the committees met with some of E's victims on the same day as the release. What they revealed is, quote, what they revealed is not only the trauma of hundreds, maybe thousands of young women, but a cover-up of epic proportions involving the wealthy, the well-connected, and even people in our own government, all the way to the top. Rep. Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico told reporters after the briefing. The victims' press conference will occur today, again, at 10:30 a.m. outside the Triangle, outside the Capitol building. We will carry it for you. Mike Johnson has actually signaled some lukewarm support to signing on to this petition or allowing it to just come to the floor without the use of the discharge petition. So we'll be watching that. And again, I think about this in human terms. It's easy for us because we're empathetic and we fucking believe women. Yes, that'd be Eastern time. To avoid the appearance of a cover-up, if you keep saying it's a Democratic hoax, or if you keep saying that it's just a witch hunt, to avoid that, just release it. The best part of the discharge petition, in my estimation, is this part here. Let's see. Under Section C, permitted withholdings. The Attorney General may withhold or redact the segregable portions. No, I'm sorry. The other part. Where is it? Wait. This part. Prohibited grounds for withholding, meaning you can't withhold if it means embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. Now, I want people to think about that for a second, okay? So Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie obviously know that there are some big names on this list. So they include language specifically about that. Listen, we don't give a fuck. We don't fucking care who's in this. You're not gonna use bullshit language and rhetoric to try to confuse the American people by saying, that's gonna offer too much embarrassment. Nope, don't care. Embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. Also, number 7, somebody said this as well. Internal DOJ communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge or to not charge, investigate or decline to investigate Epstein or his associates. Okay? So this is the entire, this is what we've been clamoring for. This is what we want. I just want to, I do think it's necessary that we kind of go back in time a little bit and address some of the things that have been said as it relates specifically to the cover-up, the lead up to it, okay? So I'm just going to play you a little, this is kind of like I guess you can call it a compilation, and you'll recognize some of the voices, and I'll be right back.
Declassify the Epstein files.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would.
Release the list. Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
Just last week, the president's excellent pick for FBI director, Kash Patel, vowed to work with me in releasing the Epstein records and breaking apart the trafficking rings that harm countless women and children across our country.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen? It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. All this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah.
So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8. A truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Cash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. It's a new administration, and everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
I know the Attorney General has committed to releasing those files. I would defer you to the Department of Justice on her timeline, but when she has made a promise in the past, she has kept it, and I'm certain that she will in this case as well.
Welcome back, everybody. 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Case closed. The Justice Department revealing Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide and insists there is no secret client list out there.
Okay. So let's again think about what it is that we know, right? We know that there has been this, we've heard, you just heard Pam Bondi. On 2 separate occasions, she's talked about how it's on my desk, and then it wasn't on her desk. And then we also know, because it's on the record, that Pam Bondi told the president this, and he acknowledged it, right? That, listen, we reviewed a bunch of information, and your name's all over this thing. Just going to let you know. And then there was reporting that hundreds of FBI agents were brought in to literally comb through the thousands of pages of documents they have to identify and flag the president's name. So this is part of that's why this discharge petition, in my opinion, is so incredibly important, because it helps us get through that, right? It helps us get through that. We've got Republican elected officials that have been caught on tape saying, that he's on it. So it's a cover-up. I mean, can we acknowledge that it is a cover-up? I mean, most of us who just care about this shit are keenly aware that it is a cover-up. And I know, I saw that. Yeah, exactly. Nancy Mace had a panic attack. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. To me, this just boils down to a just cold, hard truth that if we just believe women, survivors, victims of assault, and we don't, as a nation, we just don't. Just another reason why we are a failing nation, because the people that deserve our protection and help and support, or just acknowledgement of just being fucking believed. I'm not saying that I'm not implying that women need our protection, but we need to be listening to them for the first time in many people's lives. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of shift gears a little bit and just talk about some statistics. Okay, trigger warnings. Okay, because most of you will know. According to the CDC's National Intimate Partner and SV Survey, or NSIVS, again, trigger warnings in advance. If you need to move away, I'm going to go through some statistics. It's not graphic, they're just stats. And I know that there's 1,400 people in here, so that means likely that a couple hundred people have been victims of what I'm about to describe. So I will, again, trigger warnings in advance. If you'd like to take a breath, I respect that. If you need to swipe away, I respect that too. Protect your peace at all cost. According to the CDC's National Intimate Partner and SV Survey, 27% of women, about 1 in 4 today, or roughly 33.5 million women, have experienced a completed or attempted grape in their lifetime. Broad forms of SV, including harassment and unwanted contact. The same agency reports that 54.5% of women have experienced contact SV, sexual violence, which includes grape, SA, coercion, or unwanted contact, sexual contact. 47.6% have experienced unwanted sexual contact. 24% have experienced sexual coercion. 31% have experienced sexual harassment in a public place. The NSVRC also states nationwide, 81% of women reported experiencing some form of harassment and or assault in their lifetime. A PTSD-focused source suggests that approximately 44% of women experienced violence in their lifetime, including in childhood, with 21% of having experienced grape or attempted grape. Hang on one second. I love you, sweetie. Have a great day. I love you. Be safe, be kind, be gentle, okay? I love you very much. Bye. Sorry. A broader snapshot from a 2024 overview indicates over half of women and nearly 1/3 of men report experiencing some type of violence. So, it's not unique to our country, of course, but as my 18-year-old, soon-to-be 18-year-old daughter walks out the door, to summarize, roughly 1 in 4 women, about 27%, have experienced rape, attempted and or completed in their lifetime. Over half have encountered other forms of contact, SV, which, for example, would mean unwanted sexual contact and or coercion. Depending on definitions and study methods, estimates regarding any form of harassment or assault can reach as high as 81%. It's I mean, I know these numbers. I'm not surprised by them. It staggers me every time I read it. It just staggers me. It absolutely staggers me. Trigger warning, friends. Please protect your peace. That's our goal today. Okay. And this is. You can go. There's a couple places you can go. You can go to the CDC. They've been tracking it forever. You can go to what's referred to. The CDC has their own division within their organization called the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. It's the NISVS. They also study intimate partner violence, and they discover and they study all kinds of other resources. The CDC is a great spot. The CDC, the FBI, Humboldt.edu, 30.4 experienced sexual harassment in public spaces, also reported by the CDC. The National Sexual Violence Resource Center, which is NSRVS. All those sources. We will. We're going to do. I just had this idea, mods. We need to build a channel in Discord that has links to all this information. These are statistics, right? And I think it's overwhelming to read. So as I said, there's 1,400 people in here right now, and according to the statistics, nearly 300 of you have been assaulted to the degree where it's either completed and or attempted rape. So, yeah. So if you are, I'm not going to tolerate any bullshit today at all. I'm just not gonna tolerate it at all. So unless you, in fact, I would like to only ask for now that we hear from women. If you'd like to use this space a little bit to share your story and or your thoughts on this, just knock on the door. Happy to bring you right up. And again, I'm glad you said that, because I just saw somebody make that comment about that's just what we know. That's just what we know. That's literally just information that's been reported. So if we have reported instances of 1/4 of women have experienced an attempted and or completed rape in their lifetime, what is that number that hasn't been reported? My stats are on the low side. I'm not sure, Jesse. That's what I found, and that's what I see tracking. I could be wrong, but I feel like the CDC and the agencies that have been tracking this seem to be pretty reliable sources. So, yeah.
Thank you. Hi.
Right, just so you're there.
Are you back?
Hi.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm 38. I live in South Carolina. This year, I found out that the state of Michigan is now allowing permanent SOs. So these are people who are the highest degree. I was a victim at 10. And he had over 24 that we know of children before, but I was the only one old enough to testify. He's very dangerous and is still a tattoo and piercing artist. And so he has a lot of fame and notoriety in Michigan. And I'm very frustrated with the system and how it treated me. They coerced me into testifying, and then eventually he only did 7 of his 12 years that he was put on, and they allowed my parents to negotiate an allowance of him to leave prison. And this person was not a family member. But yeah, so I'm really disappointed that we are going back. We created these registries. We have gone through countless victims who've had to be brave and come forward, and now we're getting rid of the registries. And that's where we're at.
I'm sorry to hear that, Righteous. I'm sorry to hear that. Anything you'd like to say?
I guess I wish that we could improve the system. This person obviously needs to be away from other people. I don't believe in the unaliving penalty, despite having to have gone through reconstructive surgery because of what happened. But I just feel like we need to fix this problem. We've had this going on, I know, since the 70s. A lot of people came back wrong from Nam, and they acted out in ways that were inappropriate. And I really don't know the answer, but I know getting rid of a registry is really disgusting. And the only thing that he had to do was to sign a postcard and send it in, saying that he didn't move. But he was allowed to live with other children, and there was nothing I could do. Michigan protects the SOs, not the victims. And yeah, you suck, Michigan. They have almost an exact number. It's the second highest number next to New York. So obviously something is wrong, right?
I'm so sorry to hear your story, but thank you for your bravery and coming up and talking to us today. Like I said, we're going to be building out some additional resources in our Discord, specifically to advocacy groups and or reporting and data and statistics. But thank you for jumping in today. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good day.
You got it. You too. We are on the TikTok streets and we're out in real life, and I can't even imagine just listening to some just despicable men and women who are grape apologists. And they don't even think about it. They just immediately say, I'm not going to believe women, or I'm not going to believe the jury, or I'm not going to believe the judge, I'm not going to believe the court. There's no evidence. Why didn't she come forward sooner? Should have just kept her legs closed. All these things, we just hear it all the time, over and over and over and over again. It's the same thing all the time. And it's beyond, of course it's all men until it's no men, but it's just beyond that. It's our fucking society treating women like property. Like it's just, I'm sitting in an auditorium last night. We had our table read for Mean Girls, right? That's my daughter's high school play this year. And we only had 3 men try out, and they're cast and they've got multiple roles. And I'm just watching it, all these young girls. There's 16. Based on statistics, 4 of them at least are going to be assaulted. Either completion or attempted rape. And I'm overwhelmed by it. I'm overwhelmed by it. And just this, our daughters, our sisters, our parents, our friends, our coworkers. And there's just no regard, or already were, sadly. You're right. There's just no regard. There's just none. The people who are committing the crimes just just no regard, or the argument that so many fucking pathetic men make, so, well, I got screwed in the custody battle. Maybe because you're a fucking asshole. Maybe because you're a fucking predator. Maybe because you're a dick. Maybe because you don't deserve to have time with your kids. Maybe. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever think about your role in this shit? Ever? Did you ever think about what you did, how you participated? Probably not, huh? Good morning, Crimson. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. I will try to make this short because it's a long story. I come from a very affluent family. My dad and mother both were alcoholic. My dad lost all his money. But I left home because my mother was narcissistic, and I thought, I need to get out of here. So I went, unfortunately, to Hollywood thinking it was Beverly Hills. You know how they portray Hollywood on television. And I met this boy. So it started with that. And basically, he and I were together for 4 years. He beat me, tried to kill me.
Let's just be very careful with our language. I want to make sure we can hear your story. I'm alive. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I just want to make sure we can hear your story. That's all.
So he basically did the non-consensual. And I got a job without asking him, and he tried to rape me. And I just started screaming, just do it. And then he backed off. I worked on Wall Street. That was in the early 90s. That was a hotbed of horrifyingness. I was every single day, belittled and put down. And also, oh, that's such a pretty skirt you're wearing. Oh, your legs look nice. And one of the partners thought it was really funny to put his hands around my throat. And I shoved him, and I said, what the F are you doing? And he was like, it was a joke. Now, I don't know if you know this, but before the president got the presidency, I don't remember where I saw it, but we are 35th in the list of countries of how we treat women. And we're such a big liar in terms of, oh, we're free. And, I'm 64 years old, so I have been to a lot of protests and a lot of, women movements. Basically, my life has been sprinkled with this stuff, and it started at childhood where I was SA'd by a governess. And, it goes, so it's not just men, but it is really frustrating to see this in this year, 2025, us going way back, right? So the way they're treating women who are pregnant and will not, give them the proper care and allowing them to DIE. It's just, as I said, all through my life, it has been prevalent.
I appreciate you sharing your story with us, Crimson. I have a feeling we're going to hear many more today, and that's what the purpose of our day is. Obviously, we're going to cover the Survivor press conference at 10:30. I'm not going to show the video. I'm just going to play the sound, friends, just so we can try to keep the live up. But Crimson, I appreciate you sharing your story with us today. Thank you for being here. And I'm sorry everything happened to you. You're welcome. Real quickly, I'm just going to play our PSA. If you guys could just F1 in the chat for me, please, that you love the TikTok shop. The best thing we can do is just be active. So your engagement in the chat is great. Small gifts, heart me's, all those kinds of things. That really helps keep the live relevant. We've developed enough of a following so we can potentially avoid some of the minor indiscretions from TikTok speak. But the more activity you guys have in the live, the better. So thank you very much. I'm just going to play our PSA real quick.
TikTok. It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Okay. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? What's on your mind today?
I'm okay. This is honestly the first time I've ever, I guess, publicly spoke about it. A lot of my family doesn't even know the full extent of it, and I'm still in the process of preparing myself to go through therapy for it. But I, a few years ago, was in a relationship with a man, and somebody that I thought I could fully trust. He took everything from me. I had no voice. I had to ask permission for everything. I'm unfortunately not part of that statistic because I never spoke. I never reported it because I thought that, and I'm coming to terms with it, I thought I asked for that, that I allowed that. I am now coming to terms with, now that I'm in I've come out, I'm married to a wonderful woman, and she gives me the space to speak, but it's affected my relationship with her because now intimacy for me, it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing, and I don't want to be that way. So that's why I'm preparing to go through therapy to work through that. So when I hear these grape apologists, it infuriates me so much, and I don't understand why it's so hard to believe the woman. We don't speak on these things. If we have the courage to, we don't say it for sympathy. We don't say it because we just want the man to be in trouble or whatnot. We want to be heard. That's why a lot of us don't speak out. And it's so damaging. And oftentimes when I hear grape apologists on lives, I have to leave because I can't sit there and listen to somebody be like, oh, well, nothing happened to her. So my big thing for everybody is,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And that's what kills me with my daughters in school. It doesn't matter if she's wearing a tank top. It doesn't matter. I just want people to really think about it. Like, but yeah, that's my experience. Unfortunately, I'm not part of that statistic. But I will be working through that. And I encourage any woman, if you can't speak to law enforcement, tell a friend. Talk to a friend at least. Don't let it eat you alive, because it does.
Jen, thank you for your bravery, your courage for coming up and speaking with us. If you, like I'll mention this to everybody, we are going to be building a channel within our Discord to provide resources and just an opportunity. We've also got a few spaces within our Discord community. We have an Are You OK channel dedicated to questions specifically regarding mental health. But if you're interested in joining our community, you can please just go to the link. It's in the link tree that's in my bio. It's free to join our Discord. Just follow the verification steps. And if you're interested, this goes for anybody. But Jen, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you for giving us this the ability to do this, Steve. Thank you.
It's my honor. Thank you for letting me show up for you. I appreciate it. Have a good day. I just want to do this real quick. Somebody in our mod team just actually gave me a good idea. I think I'm going to do this. I'll try to remember to say it, but It's probably just good to have this up. Okay, put that right there. Okay. All right. So again, just think ahead to 10:30. We'll be carrying the press conference, the Survivor press conference, again sponsored bipartisan sponsorship by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. They have gathered signatures so far as to the moment, up to the minute moment. We have 4 signatures from Republicans. So the target is 218. It's a majority. For those of you who didn't join us at the beginning, there is a discharge petition that is circulating through the House of Representatives. A discharge petition simply means that any member of the House at any point can introduce a discharge petition. The idea being that if you get a majority of House members, it's not subject to the Speaker, because the Speaker is the one who sets the schedule for votes. So if you get enough participation, 218 votes in this case, then that automatically triggers a floor vote. So we need, humanity needs, survivors need 218 signatures. 6 need to be from the Republican Party. We have 4 so far: Thomas Massie, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. All 212 Democrats have signaled that they'll sign it, and people are showing up. So as the day progresses, there'll be more and more signatures. We'll be tracking that. Okay. And another reminder, friends. I've always, like I said, I always appreciate the support you show us here. We are crowdfunded, but I would ask you, if you want to participate in that, please don't do that today. Instead, identify one of the many brilliant women creators that are in this space, either that host lives or that part of panels, and please allow your generosity to be shared with them. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay. Hi.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing, friend? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm okay. I just wanted to bring up a point that I thought we could talk about, or it could be like kind of a sparker conversation. Obviously, we know the most egregious forms of violence against women, and you've been very graciously talking about it, which I'm grateful for. But I think that there's something, as like somebody who hosts panels and somebody who panels often, even men on the left have been a problem, right? Like even men that we should consider safe, I've had issues with. So for instance, some examples are, I have a boundary that I just want opposition up, right? And so if a man requests up because he wants to talk to a guest or sorry, my daughter. Almost, babe. I've had to say, okay, I'll give you 30 seconds and then I'm going to drop you down because I'm just looking for opposition. I've had them call me the C word. I've had them call me the B word. I haven't had them telling me that I'm not worthy enough for what they have to say anyway. And that's verbatim. And so I think that there's something to say about respecting boundaries, not getting your ego involved, and just listening and respecting women's boundaries all the time, no matter what, no matter how it makes you feel. And I think that's something men on the left can do and set as a good example for all men. That's like the basis where it starts, right? Just respecting that boundary. And so I think that if men on the left show that to all men, we can start having hopefully some kind of positive ripple effect. So yeah, I just think, I think it just is as basic as that, or not as basic as that, I shouldn't say that, I'm sorry. But just that's something that we can do to start some kind of positive ripple effect in respecting women and what they have to say and their boundaries.
Amanda, I think I think you and I have actually talked about that before, offline, about how you're exactly right about a perception of a safe space. First of all, I have no expectation that I would ever be considered a safe space on the surface. I'm not an arbiter for that, first of all. I've never claimed to be. I understand that it's all men until it's no men. I'm not offended by it when somebody says it. That being said, people who attempt to portray just because they might vote in support of your cause or vote in support of marginalized communities are oftentimes the ones that we should fear the most, or that I should say that you should fear the most, because they create this perception of safety and come to find out they may not be safe at all.
Exactly.
Yep. I think it's a very, very good point. We live in the patriarchy. I am a traitor to it. We are surrounded by, the misogyny. It exists everywhere. I'm really glad you called that out, Amanda. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate you very much. And by the way, friends, as I was just mentioning, Amanda is a person who hosts lives regularly, and it's been an honor to be part of your therapy sessions. So if you would like to support her, I believe your Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo are in your bio. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
So if you would like to contribute, as you always generally do in our crowdfunding endeavor, here's a perfect example of an incredible, amazing woman who's out here doing the work every single day. Your generosity, I would appreciate that on my behalf and on her behalf. Thank you very much, Amanda. I love you.
Thank you, Steve. Love you too.
You got it. See you later.
Yeah.
It's a really good point, right? It's an extremely good point. I have no expectation. How I want to say this, I don't think there's any safe space for women. I really don't. I really don't. I have no expectation that you're going into a space and you consider it safe. Just, we know about intimate partner violence. We know about family violence. We know about it exists everywhere. Specifically, we know that there's 30%, roughly 1 in 4 that report, and that's just those that report. So I'm really glad she said that. So cautionary tale for men, right? If you can advocate, right? You can feel like you're on the right side, but watch your own bullshit too. Watch your own misogyny as well. And I would encourage, especially YT men, when you go into spaces of people that look like you, or I should say that don't look like you, how about this? Sit there and shut the fuck up and listen to learn. If your opinion is wanted, it may be asked for. And if it's not, don't pull into your fragile little bullshit. Sit there and learn. Period. Okay? Because it is all men until it's no men. It is all white people until it's no white people. So if you put those two together, it's all white men until it's no white men. So get it done. Make a difference. Say goodbye to your daughter in the morning when you send her off to school or to camp or to her job or whatever that might be. And remember that 1 in 4 are going to be assaulted in their life. So if your daughter comes home and she tells you that she was assaulted, are you going to say, well, what were you wearing? Are you going to say, well, maybe you shouldn't have put yourself in that position? Or are you going to say, did you lead him on? Are you going to be a safe space for her, knowing that she can believe you if she comes to you? This is what we're talking about. And I want to give a shout out to my friend JW, who hosts lives all the time. He's deconstructing, and I've been watching his journey, and it's been incredibly inspiring to watch. He hosts a live with a background. It's all men until it's no men. And he's challenging conviction, and he's challenging the bullshit. And I really respect it. And I've been honored to be on his panel with him sometime with some amazing people, including our friend Kristen. I think I saw her in this morning. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Obviously, the events of today are going to happen, and we will process it as best we can. But after today, what happens? What are you going to do tomorrow? Are you impacted by this shit? Does it sting? Does it hurt? I hope the fuck it does. I really hope it does. I really hope it fucking hurts. I want people who may not have been victims. And the weird part for me is I was in a live over the weekend and there were women on the panel. It was 8 versus 1, and I was happy to represent. And there was women on the panel that are saying they didn't believe Eugene. They just didn't believe her. It's just Okay, I'll try to get through as many guests as I can this morning, friends. And then, just as a reminder, at 10:30 we'll cover the press conference. What is this? This happens morning to be. Okay. Hello.
Good morning, friends.
I love you.
I love you too. Heard you mention my aunt. I was going to come up and talk about my own story, but I think I'm just going to make a general statement about purity tests for victims. Believing someone because they act like a victim, because they act a certain way, because they describe it a certain way. People handle trauma in many different ways. People have their shields up, their walls up, the way that they present themselves based on so many factors. The way they were raised, the way they, talk to themselves about what happened. And just because somebody is eccentric or is capable of telling jokes or still finding joy in their lives amidst what they're talking about or what's happened to them doesn't mean they weren't a victim. We really have to stop telling people that we don't believe them because we don't like their personality and we don't like the way they present what they're saying. And I think that's one of the things I've heard a lot is, well, did you see the way she talks? Did you see her make a joke? Did you see her laugh? Did you see her say this or that? That's her personality. She does that with everything. Some people handle trauma by telling jokes about what happened to them in order to get through it. That doesn't mean they weren't a victim. We have to stop that purity test crap. That's one of the biggest parts of grape culture we really need to deconstruct. That's how she survived it. And we shouldn't be judging. It's just like any other trauma that people talk about. Seems like in this area, it's not okay to have a particular personality. That's been bothering me. Because I acted a different way. But I know so many survivors who handle their trauma by making light of it or making jokes or adding levity to a conversation where they're discussing it. In order to get through it, they have to keep living their lives every day. So I just wanted to make that point.
I've said this to Brett, Amber, and although it's a different topic, I shouldn't know you.
Right. Yeah.
I'm glad I do. I'm glad I do. We had a great conversation. It was good to catch up over the phone. But I shouldn't know you.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I mean, I've had this conversation with so many survivors. Brett, Sandy and Lonnie Phillips. You probably know who they are.
I do.
So many about I shouldn't know you. And I can't stand it when people say that, it especially comes from religious people. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody's faith, but that these traumas happen to us in order to teach us a lesson or to give us some kind of gift. And I hate that narrative, but that's not to say that there aren't aspects of connection that we can find in our suffering. And one of the ways that we survive, if we're lucky, is to find other people who understand us that we may never have met before. And I consider you one of those people. I consider Brett one of those people. And I would still go back and undo everything. But we have to find ways to get through it. And one of those ways is to connect with people who see us, right? And I would say that's a gift. It is. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't go back and undo it, as anyone would tell you, right? But that's one of the ways that we manage our grief is and desire to keep going. So there is an element of, the way that you handle it being able to get you to another day. But I would never, it took me over 20 years to connect with any other survivors. And those were lonely days. So yes, there's been joy in connecting with other people. Unfortunately, the subject matter is horrible. Right. So can't avoid
that. Yeah.
That comes with its own complications. But
You're right. The things that you have in common. That's the unfortunate things you have in common. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But yeah. I wouldn't. I'm grateful that I have you. I'm grateful that I have Brett. I'm grateful for those things. Very, very grateful.
Feelings mutual.
Yeah. So I just want to like people to think about the purity testing for survivors. Like stop expecting people to act sad or act traumatized in front of you. People put on faces in public. You don't see the way that affects them behind closed doors.
I love you, friend. I appreciate you being here.
Great live today. Thanks. See you later.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
For those of you who don't know, we've gotten to know Amber because Agent Carol's her aunt. But Amber has her own story, and that needs to be acknowledged that she has her own story. Her identity is not defined by her family. Her identity is defined by what's happened to her. And I'm glad she said what she said. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. We will get through this together. We're doing this for a reason, and we should do it more often. I just want to thank everybody for your participation. I appreciate it. Good morning, Ollie. How are you today?
Well, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can. Mm-hmm.
First time ever on a live. I watch you every day, so thank you for all your days and today. And thank you for your space. My black, white, and gray story spans a couple decades. My experiences were with a stranger, a friend, a brother of a friend, a spouse, it just goes on. A predator that I worked with. I mean, I have multiple stories, but it all started as an 8-year-old. So believe women, but believe children. I was 8. It was public in the sense that it was outside in the air near my elementary school playground. The elementary school janitor saved me. The elementary school kids I went to school with targeted me and bullied me, and I had to go up and look up the R word in the dictionary to understand what happened. I'm 52 now, and I don't know who I would have been if I didn't experience that. And I have girls, I have children that I fear for. And thank you I've never been on a live. I have shared my story with people I know, but never with 1,000 strangers. Believe children, believe women. And thank you for your open space, Steve.
Thank you for sharing your story and your bravery, Ollie. We see you. I appreciate you being here today. Be safe, okay? Come back anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hope you're all doing okay. I mentioned to start, if you at any moment need to scroll away, please do. Protect your peace. RAINN.org is a resource. 988 is a crisis line. If you're ever in need, we have resources available in our mod chat. I'm sorry, in our Discord. The Are You Okay channel is specifically set up for people who might need to just get some stuff off your chest. I appreciate everyone's courage to come up here and have conversations, and it has to happen more. These spaces can't just be held and hosted by women. It have to be hosted by men. It does. We have to call people out on this shit, and we have to do it again and again and again, right? And it's brutally hard. But I just want change in society. I want to change. I want more people. I want more men to realize that they cannot, to get offended when you see something, it says it's all men until it's no men. Then you're part of the problem. Just like you're part of the problem. And that's the work that people do. That's the work that people like JW do. That's the work that people like Manda does and Kristen does and other amazing creators trying to just call it out. call it out, saying this has to be different. You've got to embrace the fact that you're not considered safe, no matter if you think you are or not. And for them to understand why and not take it personally and just be about making change. Just look at your kid. Look at your blue-eyed, curly-haired, dirty-faced, dirty-hand little girl and ask yourself and accept the fact that if she's standing on a playground with three of her friends, one of them statistically is going to be violated. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to blame her? You going to blame her for showing a little shoulder? You going to blame her because she went out with her friends and they got separated and she was in an unfortunate situation? Is that her fault? Little boys too, absolutely. I'm glad you said that. I'm not dismissing that. I'm not dismissing that at all. What are you going to do? We talk about this often in terms of the obvious damage that the patriarchy does to women, but it's damaging to men too. Incredibly damaging to men. And I have two boys, 23 and 21. And I think about that every single day. How I'm grateful that they weren't red-pilled. Not only are my boys not red-pilled, they are so protective of their sister. Like, it's crazy. And I'm just like, that's the shit. And not just that, though, but they speak out against others in the spaces that they're in. And they talk about it. We talk about it often. We were together over my birthday. And we talked about it. And they've got two amazing women in their lives, right? And I'll share a little conversation with you. My daughter just broke up with her boyfriend because she said her boyfriend struggles with the word consent. Like, he doesn't understand it. And I'm just like, I've encouraged my daughter to make her own decisions, right? I've encouraged her to make her own decisions. And we talked about it. And I knew where the conversation was going. She was heartbroken. But she got it. But she figured it out. She's like, it's just a red flag, and I don't get it. And I'm like, maybe I can change him. I'm like, and I'm waiting for the next statement. But I probably can't. So, that's real-time shit. Again, 1 in 4 women that we know of. 1 in 4. Again, 1,200 people in here. 300 of you have been victims, statistically speaking. Yeah. That's why I always say I believe in age-appropriate sex ed. That starts in preschool. Proper names for body parts. What's good touch and bad touch. Leading it all through the developmental years to understand specifically what consent is. I think examples of children who are violated is because they don't know if that's love. I've studied this shit. They don't know if it's love. They assume it is. Because the person that loves them, they just accept it. Even though it feels uncomfortable. I guess they love me, though. We become so just numb to it in our society, and yet every single day, we hear more horrible stories. And today, we're going to hear from survivors. I guess I want to ask this question to people who are here today, and I'll ask my mods. I tend to refer to people who've been assaulted, who have survived, as survivors and not victims. That just feels better because they survived it. And I guess that two things can be true, right? Victims of it and survivors of it. We've got to do better. We've got to do better. If there's any men in the chat that are scrolling by right now who are fans of the show, and I want you to listen to some of the things that Amanda said earlier, and listen to some of the things that Amber said. Right? You cannot. There should be no gray area. There should be no gray area at all. None. Don't take offense if you don't get your seat at the table. If you knock on the door and they don't let you in, get over it. If there's a plan or a process or whatever the host decides, then follow the fucking rules or get the fuck out. It's the whole thing with this male loneliness epidemic. I think is the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. It's self-inflicted. Men, if you're alone, it's probably because you're a fucking asshole. And because women see you as a threat. Don't blame them. Blame yourself. Seriously, I think it's the biggest fucking lie I've ever heard in my life. Again, blaming women for your own bullshit. Blaming women, finding some way to blame women for your loneliness. You should walk around with a mirror every fucking day, right in front of you. Right in front of you. And you won't do it. And how can we make things better for people? The most vulnerable people in our society. Children, kids. You don't care about their lives in schools. You don't. Your own daughters. You'll find a way to blame them. You will find a way to blame them. Your first question will be, what were you wearing? Why were you there? What did you say to him? I blame religion for so much of it. Good morning, Pebbles. How are you today?
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for doing this, Steve.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I guess the only thing that I have to say, I don't want to talk about my own experience, but if I had a daughter, which I wish I did, I would just tell them that they don't have to find a boyfriend or a man or anything like that, because you don't. It's okay to be single. I know in this society, it's not okay to be single, but that's all I had to say. I think it is okay.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It is okay. Live your life. Be happy, whatever that means. Right. I agree with you, Pebbles. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
You got it. Bye-bye. She's right. So, okay, we're tracking this. Ralph Norman and Eric Burlston both signaling today that they are not inclined to sign the discharge petition. Interesting. Not inclined to sign it. We are tracking this in real time. As a reminder, sorry, I'm sure there's a trash bag floating around outside that Kippers found exciting. The discharge petition is circulating. We need 218 signatures. So we've got 4 that have confirmed. All 212 Democrats have confirmed that they're going to be signing it. So Ralph Norman says he's heard from the White House who view it as a backhanded slap to Trump since Massey is leading it, but insists they didn't try to pressure him. Wow. Okay. That's just great. That's just beautiful. Hey, Seth, another man who's not afraid to deal with it. How you doing today, friend?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. Appreciate you having me up. Yeah, man.
Got it.
So I've been an advocate for women, but on my live, I recently found out that that some women were staying away from my live because I had brought some people in who had said some, locker room type things. And when you're running your live, you can't police all the comments. That's why we have mods. You try to do your best, but sometimes things happen. And there's no excuse, obviously, because women have been disadvantaged our entire lives, forever. And what I've learned is that, we have to be their strongest advocates, right? Women can say things all day, every day, and they have their own power. But the world needs to see guys like you and me really step up in this moment for them. And I believe is really stepping up for all individuals. But some friends of mine have started saying it's all men until it's no men. And a lot of guys just don't get it.
They don't.
They don't understand the concept. And I think they choose to be offended by it. Right? Like they choose to sit there and try to argue it and try to be like, oh, well, you need men to further the human race. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about, fellas. It's not. It's about women can't trust. They walk into a room, they can't trust the men in there. They don't know the men in there.
Correct.
So until they know they can trust everybody, they can't trust anybody.
Correct.
Because you don't know. Another friend of mine uses a Skittles analogy, where like if there's a poisoned Skittle in a bowl of Skittles, are you going to eat the Skittles if you know that one of them is poisonous? Absolutely not. And it just makes sense, right? Like women are not out here like trying to bullshit around the percentage of a fake rape accusation is so low, so comically low when you compare it to the amount of women who experience SA in their lives, maybe multiple times.
Correct.
Maybe grew up being SA'd by somebody.
Correct. They just get reported too, Seth. Those are the ones that just get that report it. Correct. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So I mean, you just don't know, and I mean, it's only getting. Obviously, it really only got worse with Roe being taken down by the Supreme Court, and since then, hundreds of thousands of women have been forced to have their rapist baby, which it's unconscionable. In 2025, it's unconscionable. It makes you physically sick to your stomach. And so if I can, just end it on this note, fellas watching this live, look introspectively. Don't look for a reason to be offended. Try to think why women are saying things like this, why they're coming forward. Try to imagine what it's been like over the last hundreds of years when you're basically a second-class citizen and you're used as an incubator. Like, and just, like, the world needs empathy. If you can't put yourself in somebody else's shoes, go to therapy, man. Like, it's a real big problem. If you lack empathy, if you can't think to yourself like, damn, like if I was a woman, I wouldn't want to deal with all this harassment. I wouldn't want to be assaulted multiple times in my life, or I believe the number is at least 1 out of 2, maybe 2 out of 3, which is just gross. It's fucking gross. So again, fellas, listen to me, man. Like, don't choose to be offended. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes and be a real man. Stand up for women. Stand up for those who are marginalized and the people who need us the most.
I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate the work that you do. I know you're out there fighting the fight every day. And if you guys don't follow Seth, please do. Thanks for being here, bud. I appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you, man.
Talk to you later. See ya.
Later.
That's it, right? Like we said before, the male loneliness epidemic is fucking bullshit. If you're fucking lonely, I mean, I'm watching some of you fools in the chat right now, and the chat will eat you up. I'm not worried. You in your little bubble of privilege, the reason that you're alone is because you're a dick. The reason that you're alone is likely because you're a fucking asshole. The reason you're alone is because women cover their drinks whenever you're around. That's why you're alone. You're alone because you still wear a fanny pack. You're alone because you think your members only jacket that fits you in 1984 still looks good. You're alone because you're a fucking idiot. And you're going to live your life alone because you'll never come out of it. And you will find someone to blame. And you will always blame women. Get over it. Learn to fucking grow. Move the fuck on with your life and be better. Hi, Ash. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, not anything personal, if that's okay. I just
Sure, no problem.
I've seen this series on Netflix before. It's based on a true story and done really well, but I watched it again, ironically, that you're doing this topic over the last couple of days, but it's called Unbelievable on Netflix. So I recommend any
anybody who wants to have some empathy and understand what women go through. It's about a young girl who basically gets assaulted. She came out of foster home and was living in like a kind of like a group, you know, like once you age out of the system, it's, you know, you sign up for a program and whatnot. And she reported.
Hey, Ash, one second. I'm just going to step away real quick. I got somebody knocking my door, so please tell your story. I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so she reports it, but the two cops are just, she's, you know, she's kind of like a shy, she's very quiet. She is somebody who doesn't trust people, and it's called Unbelievable on Netflix. Thanks, y'all. And her story, and then they end up like charging her with false reporting, but several states away, there's these two women detectives, so it's really empowering that way. And they are investigating a serial rapist. And anyway, I don't want to give too much away. It's a true story. The main person, Marie Adler, she only used her middle name, and she has remained anonymous, but she was very well done, even down to her mannerisms, to kind of portray like what she went through. I just cry every time I watch it. Yes, it's a hard watch. So trigger warning, but I will say, like, it's got a redemptive. Is redemptive the right word? It's got redemption, redemptive. Sure. It's got a redemptive
that works.
ending. Yeah. So
sorry, I had to step away there. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. But please, I recommend watching it with what Seth was saying before about empathy. I would recommend watching Unbelievable, and then I would also recommend watching, and now I can't think of it. What's the one with the young man who, it's all shot in each episode, the young man who, oh gosh, what's it called? Somebody in your chat will know. The young man who gets accused of unaliving the young woman. It's all shot in like one. It's about well, I don't want to.
I know what you're talking.
Adolescence.
Adolescence. Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So kind of like what Seth was talking about. If you want to kind of get some empathy to watch something, really like put yourself into, like, I dove right in again to Unbelievable, and I just highly recommend it, y'all. It's not easy, as, you know, a survivor myself, you know, as a child, and then as an adult. It took me a long time to even, you know, understand it. We live in a society that doesn't teach consent. Young girls don't even know what consent is. It's sad. And we got to do better. But anyway.
We do.
Yep. Take care. Yep. Take care.
I appreciate you. Good to see you again. Take care of yourself. All right. Bye. Yeah. I'm glad she mentioned it. By the way, it was missionaries at my door. Anyway, how ironic for that timing. The topic of consent, I think it's a conversation that we have to continue to have. And I've always been an advocate for age appropriate sex ed. And, you know, it's interesting that there was resistance from people with a particular political and or moral priorities or ideology. The ones who are perpetrating a lot of the majority of these crimes against children tend to fall to that same side of the political spectrum, right? Because people on the left want to address it. You want to inform children. You know, young girls need to know what consent is. Young boys need to know what consent is. We all need to know what consent is. I'm tired of the nicknames for body parts. Call it what it is. It's a penis. It's a vagina. Moving on. It's not that complicated. We in the West are the ones that are so fucking just the purity test regarding conversations about sexuality is just stupid. Like, just get over yourself. It's just dumb. You go to Europe, let your flag fly. Those societies evolve because they address it before it becomes an issue. So, again, I'll jump out that soapbox for now. But got more people I want to continue to talk to today. Again, just as a reminder, folks, we are marching towards our the press conference at 10:30. There still seems like there's more folks that are unwilling to sign the petition. I guess we'll see. Geraldine, how are you today? Geraldine, are you there? Geraldine, are you there? I guess not. Let's see. Michelle, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind today?
So, in 19 days, it will have been 25 years since I was robbed, kidnapped, and SA'd from where I worked. The person the offender, was not held accountable for it, for the SA portion of it. The police actually made me get in the back seat of their vehicle and rewrite the route that we took 7 times. And the more we had to drive that route, the more my brain started to try to protect myself and shut down. And I knew what happened. I knew that it did happen, but all of the specifics surrounding it started to kind of disappear. And so I was essentially reoffended by the police after this had happened. And we went through 3 different counties. And so because I could not remember the specific county that we were in, charges for that particular part of the crime were never brought up. And it took 10 years before the memories started to come back. So, yeah. And when I talk about it, I'm usually really kind of just point blank, almost like I'm just giving bullet points of everything that happened. And people will kind of look at me. Somebody earlier was talking about the way people speak about things and the way that they act and things like that. And people will kind of look at me and side-eye me like I'm full of shit, essentially. And it's like, no, this is just how I still have to protect myself even 25 years later. So, yeah, that's it.
Sounds, Michelle, like an example of why women don't report.
100%. 100%. So, but thank you for having me up. I do appreciate it, and I love listening to you and your guests.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and thanks for being here. I appreciate you sharing your story. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Francis. Yeah, fries regarding consent. Freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, specific. Fries. FRIES. Freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. Okay? When you're having conversations with your children, remind them of that. Consent is freely given, it is reversible, it is informed, it is enthusiastic, and it is specific. Okay. Good morning, Livia. How are you today?
Good morning. My heart breaks hearing all these stories, and forgive me if I get a little teary while we talk. Okay. I'm so glad these women are sharing everything about their experiences, and thank you for shouting out JW. He's another man that's doing the work. I'm a survivor as well, and I wanted to also bring up that the intersection of identities plays a big role here too, because yes, of course, we should believe women, and there are subsets of that group that are at elevated risk, especially Black women and Black trans women, First Nations women. In Canada, there's a huge issue with especially our First Nations women being disappeared. I wanted to mention how mental health is a factor in this. Like, not only are people with mental health at higher risk, but also people can develop very severe mental health conditions that sometimes are lifelong. Like, I have borderline personality disorder because of the trauma from my childhood. And I'm in therapy literally every week for it. I probably will be for the rest of my life. And, that or any other experience that someone has that sends them to therapy, people don't realize it's a fucking tax. Like, nobody pays for that. We have to. And a lot of marginalized folks can't afford that. I can't. My parents helped me with that. And without them, I probably wouldn't be alive. But I don't think when men think about this stuff that they're really understanding the lifelong impact that their actions have. I love that Skittles analogy. I'm going to use that.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
It applies. I think that's the point. Livia, thank you for coming up today and telling your story. It's much appreciated. Thank you for your bravery.
Yeah.
Good to talk to you.
Thank you, Steve. One other super quick point.
Yeah. Yes.
Believe women, absolutely, but that language is passive, right? The information comes to you and you believe it or don't. Men need to be active. They need to be doing what you're doing, what JW's doing, and creating spaces that are safer, educating men and boys especially.
Well said.
Thank you,
well
Steve.
said. I appreciate
Love
that.
you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Appreciate it. Love you too. Somebody just asked the question. The S in the fries is specific. So again, it's freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. One more time. Fries. Freely given. Consent. Freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. So yes. Or as people on the right tend to say, Pacific. No, it's specific. Okay, just a real check. Have we seen any more movement? I'm asking the mod team. Have we seen any more movement on any other signatures on the discharge petition? I know that there was a pressure campaign. I'm just trying to square this in my brain. Can you imagine? Speaker Johnson's laid out a number of similarities between each discharge petition and what oversight is doing in its probe. Johnson is against the discharge and is trying to kill it. There you go. Let's see. Speaker Johnson laid out a number of similarities between the Epstein discharge petition and what oversight is doing in its probe. Speaker Johnson is against the discharge and is trying to kill it. I just want people to think about that for a second. Okay? The party that claims to want transparency, the administration that claims to be the most transparent in history, they are doing everything they can to make sure that this information doesn't go public. So what we are going to witness in the next hour or so is survivor testimony. Okay? Survivor testimony from people connected to the information that we want to go public. And there are people in the House of Representatives. I read you the discharge petition. I read it. They're going to try to spin the narrative. I read it for you. It includes everything. There's even clauses in it that directs the Department of Justice to redact the names of any victims/survivors. Again, remember, the best line, where is it? Number 7, internal DOJ communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge, not charge, investigate, or decline to investigate. All communications, memoranda, directives, logs, metadata concerning the destruction, deletion, alteration, misplacement, or a concealment of documents, recordings, or electronic data released to Epstein and his associates, his detention, and his passing. Prohibited grounds for release. Whether or not, no record shall be withheld, delayed, or redacted on the basis of any of the following: embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. Now, the meat behind the story here is because so many Republicans have hitched their wagon to MAGA. So many Republicans have campaigned. They use Trump imagery in their campaign messaging. They use Trump imaging in their donation pleas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now they are in a position where they are denying the release of crimes against children because of their connection to MAGA. That is a fucking cult by definition. There are people that will attempt to squirrel a way out of this shit because of their devotion to the cause of MAGA and because their fucking voters won't like it. They know. The reason they do this is because they know. The reason that they are doing this is because they know he's in it. They know he's on it, and they know that there's other people in their community that they've been defending that are on it too. They know. They know. Unbelievable. Why are we not surprised? I'm not. Are there going to be 2 more courageous Republicans to step up? I think there are. Good morning. How are you today?
Hey, Steve. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, Hill. Thanks for asking. What's going on?
I want to thank you for having this space. It's been hearing the stories of women this morning has been. I want to thank everyone for their courage. I want to share something. It's not really my story, and I'm going to do my best not to center myself in the story because it has to do with my child. And I'm a survivor as well, and I also want to just for it when you talked about when you talk about women not being victims and being survivors, that really helped me to change my perspective, not only on my own trauma but on hers as well. So I want to point out that a lot of children, probably a majority of the children who are SA'd, it's done by family members, quote unquote, trusted family members. And that's what happened to my daughter. And she's 15 now. It happened when she was 11, and she's neurodivergent. She has some pretty severe intellectual delays, and so we're talking about a 15-year-old in a 15-year-old body with like a brain and cognitive ability and her ability to assess like danger of a 7 or 8, right? And so her grandfather is the perpetrator of this crime, and we're actually going through the process right now. It's been 3 years since the felony indictments came. We just passed that mark, and we're at a place right now where the district attorney is planning on offering a plea to this man who we trusted, and his partner, who is my wife's mother, is standing by him and believing him, and is just as much of a perpetrator as he is. You know, and the reason we're agreeing to this plea is so that our daughter doesn't have to testify. You know, we don't. It's not that we don't trust her or think that she is telling the truth, but we do believe that, you know, defense attorneys are able to twist up neurotypical people, and we believe that they'll be able to really confuse her during her testimony and stuff. And so, like, I think the trauma for her is so difficult to help her work through because we don't see her processing through it at all, right? Like, she just doesn't have like the emotional maturity and to identify what she's feeling. Anytime we're going through like trauma at home, and we can identify that it's her trauma, her response is, I'm just tired. Yeah. You know, and so like trying to dig with her is very difficult. We don't talk about it a lot. We just try to support her, and I think my trauma around there is just not, number one, not the guilt that I hold for not being able to protect my kid, right? And then
I understand that. I get that.
Just seeing what she's going through, And the other like part of our trauma is, so my wife and I are in recovery. We've been clean for a long time, and
Congratulations.
her mother and this partner, thank you, are also in recovery, and we're in this small fellowship. And the thing that one of the things that pisses me off the most is these two people are up on this fucking pedestal. Everybody thinks that they're so great, and the fellowship has divided over it, and that's just really, it's been difficult, man. I thank you for having this space. I don't talk to a lot of people about this because it's just, it's still really fresh. It's still really fresh, and we haven't had justice yet, and we haven't. I feel like our story hasn't been heard, and so I know that 890 people in here don't know me, but it feels good to unload my stuff on people a little bit, and not, just to say it out loud and take the power out of it sometimes. So
Well,
I
I appreciate you,
you.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you for being brave and giving me the honor to show up for you. I appreciate you very much, all. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You got it. All right, bye. So we're just tracking this. Rep Anna Polino Luna has said that she won't be signing Massey's discharge petition. Don't forget, she's also one of the people who's talked about how we need to protect children from trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. And here's an opportunity to do it. All Dems sign on. Backers only need 2 more Republicans to get on board, but the path to 218 looks tricky. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? So every Democrat has signed. 4 Republicans have signed. Thomas Massey, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene have signed it. They need 2 more. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? Yeah, sadly we can. Whether or not they get the discharge petition, in about 15 minutes, we're going to be hearing, hopefully, hearing from survivors. We're going to do our best to try to broadcast that. We're going to stream it. I'm not going to show the video, hoping that maybe is ways that we can circumvent some of the TikTok specifics, but we're going to do our best. Do we have, I want to make sure we're tracking this properly. I want to go to, hold on a second. I'm just checking.
Children and survivors, not titles and reputation.
This isn't the specifics of the press conference, but I'm going to pivot to playing some audio now, friends.
And I hope today's courage from all of us ladies can help someone else be safer tomorrow. We are here and we refuse to be erased. So thank you guys for listening to all of us and being here today.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. As I stand here today and look around, I want to acknowledge what it feels like to be in the presence of these incredibly brave.
So I'm streaming this from USA Today's YouTube channel. It's the first link that popped up. It's on YouTube.
By each and every one of them.
So I'm sure you can find it.
And I am following in the brave footsteps of those that came before me. While we each have our own stories and walk down different paths of life, we are bonded together as survivors. When I look into these beautiful faces, I am reminded that we all started our journeys with big hopes and dreams. Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, stole and systematically destroyed those dreams. We are a mosaic of shattered hopes and dreams at their hands. As an aspiring dancer, the manipulation came in forms of offering me dance studio space, discussing opportunities to meet with ballet masters, and aiding a very ill family member of mine, none of which would ever come to pass. Instead, I was left in a cycle of abuse that wore me down and broke me. When it happened, I would have to completely disassociate. Similar to a coma, my brain would need to protect itself, so I would retreat and choreographing in my own head to escape the cruel acts that were being carried out on my body. After, I would go to the studio bundled in giant, baggy clothing. I remember standing there, staring in the mirror as if it were an empty void. I was past the point of tears. There was nothing left. I was a hollow shell of myself. I could no longer watch my body move, let alone dance. He had taken something sacred from me. 2 decades later, I am still experiencing lingering effects of what happened to me as a teenager. I am just one story in the mosaic of women taking back their power by confronting the horrific truths of their pasts due to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We stand here today in the nation's capital for no other reason than to say that women's voices will not be marginalized. We stand together as a mosaic of stories, but we're also finding our way back to ourselves. We are reclaiming the fragmented shards of the hopes and dreams of our past to paint a better future for the next generation of women. This story has come to Washington to be told. We will be heard. Thank you.
My name is Jess Michaels, and I'm a 1991 Jeffrey Epstein survivor. 27 years. For 27 years, I thought I was the only one that Jeffrey Epstein raped. I believed I was alone, and I was kept silent by
F1 in the chat, please. F1 in the chat.
And by the fear outside in the world. But I wasn't the only one. None of us were. And what once kept us silent now fuels that fire and the power of our voices. We are not the footnotes in some infamous predator's tabloid article. We are the experts and the subjects of this story. Yes. We are the proof that fear did not break us. This is what power looks like. We don't just speak for ourselves. Survivors united, voices joined, refusing to be dismissed. Know this, justice and accountability are not favors from the powerful. They are obligations decades overdue. This moment began with Epstein's crimes, but it's going to be remembered for survivors demanding justice, demanding truth, demanding accountability, and we will not stop until survivor voices shape justice, transform culture, and define the future.
What we are watching is a gathering of some of the survivors that will be speaking today. This is before the press conference that kicks off at 10:30. If they don't announce their names, I will do so for you, friends. So this is streaming from YouTube. It's on Reuters, lots of locations. So we'll keep watching this. This was a this is sort of like I guess a pre-event prior to the main event, which is scheduled to start at 10:30. Again, that event sponsored by Ro Khanna, Democrat, Thomas Massey, Republican, as they attempt to still get 2 more signatures.
Okay, we're in the home stretch. We are going to bring up Eric Faduli, who is a lawyer. Sometimes survivors are ready to be seen, they're not ready to be heard. And so we would love to bring you up because you represent so many survivors who are so critical to this story.
This is outside the Capitol building where 2 Republicans are needed to get this
Good morning, everyone.
legislation introduced.
My name is Eric Faduli, and I've had the privilege of representing up to 11 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, and one of them is standing next to me here today. This is Rosa. you may not realize this, but what I just did is the first time anyone has ever said Rosa's name publicly as being attached and being abused by Jeffrey Epstein. And this is also the first time she has ever appeared publicly as a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein. And I say that because it was last night that she flew into Washington, D.C., inspired by the solidarity of all of you, by the compassion of all of you, by the courage of all of you to be here today. And I'm so proud of Rosa, and I'm so proud of all of you. But the truth is, Rosa shouldn't be here today. Rosa shouldn't have to be here today, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Rosa was trafficked from Uzbekistan under the guise of a modeling contract in 2009. That means that Rosa wouldn't be here today if Alex Acosta hadn't had Jeffrey Epstein in his grasp, had what every single law enforcement officer dreams of, to stop a predator in his tracks. And what did he do? He gave him a slap on the wrist and let him to continue to abuse. And had he not, Epstein never would have met Rosa, and Rosa would not have to be here today. But none of you should have to be here today. None of you should have to be there today, because if when Jeffrey Epstein was finally arrested in 2016 and under federal custody, he wouldn't have been allowed to take his own life and avoid the accountability and justice you all deserve. And none of you should be here today because Ghislaine Maxwell should not have been given a platform to deny the crimes against her, who was convicted of trafficking and tricking 14-year-old girls. She should not have been given a platform, and she should not have been rewarded after that platform in a minimum security resort. And none of you should have to be here today because they should just release the files. No more slow rolling, no more meetings, no more strategy, no more interviews behind closed doors. Release the files and give you all and Rosa the accountability, the exposure, and most importantly, the closure you all deserve. Thank you.
Our last speaker this morning is no stranger to the plight of survivors. And so with that, I'd love to welcome Gloria Allred to wrap us up here.
Gloria Allred is a famous defense attorney, prosecutor who's gone after many victims in many crimes.
Give a big round of applause to all the survivors and all the victims and all the supporters today. I commend you, and it matters that you're here. Let me just say, your voice is important, but power only recognizes power. And for many years, we have not exercised our power in a way that helped win change. And you all and we all have been betrayed. I represent Alicia Arden and 26 other brave survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and some of Ghislaine Maxwell. And in 1997, my client Alicia Arden went to the police in Santa Monica and said that she had been the victim of sexually inappropriate conduct by Jeffrey Epstein when he invited her to be auditioning for Victoria's Secret catalog. And she went to the police, and they said, why don't you think about it before you file a police report? She thought about it and came back the following week and filed the first documented police report against Jeffrey Epstein in 1997. And you all were betrayed because there was no prosecution. Believe women. Let's hear it. Believe women. Believe women. Believe women. And then the victims and all of us were betrayed when in Florida, Mr. Acosta made that deal, U.S. Attorney, it's for the Southern District of Florida, made that deal that instead of 60 felony counts that could have been filed by the United States Attorney, 2 counts were filed by the state attorney, and Jeffrey Epstein, without having a trial, was able to go to his office every day as part of the sentence and just sleep in the jail at night for 13 months. Is that justice? No! You were betrayed. And then, of course, there was New York. New York, where Jeffrey Epstein was brought in, arrested. I saw him at the last hearing in federal court. And so many victims and so many survivors thought, at last there's justice. But instead of justice, there was a dead body, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, and questions are still being asked. Was it suicide? Was it homicide? But the victims never got to testify at trial and confront that sexual predator. Was that justice? No! We're overdue for justice. We're not going to be waiting for justice. We are fighting for justice. And let me tell you, no more talk of the word pedophiles, which only means a man who is attracted to children. We're not talking about pedophiles. We're talking about sexual predators and child molesters. Let's get the word in about what the crime was that they committed. Do you agree? Yes. And finally, let me just say, these predators took advantage of vulnerable children, of vulnerable adults. We know how vulnerable women can be. And they abuse their power, and they abuse their trust. And it's time to meet power with power. There are 3 stages of evolution. The first is victim, the second is survivor, and the third is fighter for change. Are you going to be fighters for change? Not just today, but every day. Not just in politics and Congress, but in lawsuits, in speaking to people, your co-workers, your children, your mothers. Help them, support them to stand up to win justice, because nobody has ever given women and children any rights. We've always had to fight to win them. We've had to fight to keep them. Will you fight that fight? And I leave you with this, one of my favorite sayings. Pray for the dead, and that's for Virginia Roberts and all those who didn't make it here today. Pray for the dead. But fight like hell for the living. Keep up the fight. Let me hear it. Keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. One last unbelievable rallying cheer for all the survivors here. What do we want? When do we want it? Now! Okay, everybody, there's the press conference starting in a few minutes. Do you want to just go on over and we'll meet you over there, whoever wants to. Otherwise, stay here. We have this space for a while longer. Thank you so much.
So it looks like they'll take a little break. I'm sure they'll shift the stream. So what we're covering, in case you're just joining us, is a members of Congress bipartisan effort to bring survivors, give survivors space to discuss their specifics as it relates to their crimes against them perpetrated by J.E. and Ghislaine Maxwell and others. We don't know what to expect other than the fact that it is a bipartisan effort to try to get all the information released, which is what we want. There's a lot of activity on the Hill right now, Capitol Hill, because we're down to the fact that we need 2 more signatures from Republicans to sign onto a petition to release everything, unredacted, protecting the victims, specifically the survivors of this, but void of embarrassing potential people. Again, the language in the discharge petition is very specific. drafted by Ro Khanna, a Democrat, co-drafted by Thomas Massie, a Republican. The goal here is to get anything and everything that's been out, because we know all the information exists. There is resistance by leadership in the House. They are getting pressure from the White House not to allow the discharge petition to go to the floor vote, because if it does, it will pass. I want people to imagine that for a second. I want Trump supporters who are in there right now saying that months ago during the campaign, you were clamoring to have the e-files released, and now what? Here's an opportunity to do it. Are you afraid to do it? Why? Why? Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? No, he doesn't have to sign it. So, again, this is what's required here to get this across the finish line. And I don't understand what the fear is. Here's a little bit from the GOP. Let's listen.
I spoke with President Trump just a few days ago about some of the actions Congress needs to take to address the things that D.C. has done, self-inflicted wounds, so to speak, that they have passed through the council to make it easier for hardened criminals to walk free, even if they get arrested. Carjackings, you could carjack somebody at gunpoint, and frankly, a lot of the people who commit some of those violent crimes are younger people under 25. You could be 23 years old and walk out the next day if you get caught without serving any time in jail.
I'm not going to listen to that. That's Steve Scalise and members of the Republican leadership. The Republican leadership currently, their attempt to try to protect Donald Trump is to pressure members of their own caucus not to sign the discharge petition. I want people to think about that for a second. Okay, we are hearing. Okay, has it started? Let me see here. I don't see that it started yet. We could be a little bit behind. Stand by, friends. Mods, do we have a stream that started? Because it looks like they're a little bit. It just may be the stream hasn't refreshed, depending on where we're getting it from. Stand by, folks. We're working through this. This is what happens when you cover breaking news live. Hang in there, guys. I don't think it's. Have they cut the stream off? Let me see here.
And are preventing the release of the full Epstein files. There is something that is rotten in Washington. Speaking. Less than 1% of these files have been released. We are demanding today on the discharge petition that all of the files be released. We know we have 212 Democrats and we have 4 Republicans, courageous Republicans like Thomas Massie, Nancy Mace, who was so emotional yesterday after talking to the survivors, Congresswoman Boebert, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. We need just 2 more signatures to force the release. So we gather here on the steps of the Capitol to confront these corrupt forces. Today we stand with survivors. We stand against big money. We stand to protect America's children. That is really what this is about. I now want to bring up my Republican colleague, Thomas Massie. He has shown so much courage, so much leadership. And I saw some people, I say the same thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has shown so much courage on this issue. I saw some people when I was coming here calling her names. We've got to stop that. We've got to stop the partisanship on this issue. This is an issue where they both have shown real courage and leadership, and I appreciate them joining us today. Congressman Massie.
I want to thank my colleague Ro Khanna for co-leading this effort to bring transparency and justice for these victims. I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? When these survivors speak, the Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that two individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues, be one of the next two who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C. So today we're standing with these survivors. We're giving them a voice. And I want to close by thanking them. They are brave. I hope they encourage other survivors to come forward and to tell their stories, not just of Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, but anywhere in the country. This is a message that we are sending. This is a litmus test. Can we drain the swamp? Are there people who are outside of the reach of the law? I don't think there should be. So hopefully today we'll get 2 more signatures on the discharge petition. That's all we need. And with that, I want to introduce the bravest woman in Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I find it interesting that the 3 Republican co-sponsors are women. These are women standing up for women. And Marjorie was the first to do it. And I think she deserves all of our gratitude for breaking that barrier and leading the way for the other Republicans. Hopefully they can find their spines as well. And with that, I give you Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Enough of the glazing, but thank you for signing it. It's the least you could fucking do after your bullshit.
Good morning. This is my 5th year in Congress, and this is the largest press conference that I've seen since I've been here. And this is because this is an issue that matters so much to Americans. This is an issue that doesn't have political boundaries. It's an issue that Republicans and Democrats should never fight about. As a matter of fact, it's such an important issue that it should bring us all together. It's grieved me to watch the arguments and debates take place among my colleagues and even the administration. I think this is something that was worth fighting for. You see, the women behind me are going to tell you stories that you've never heard before. These are unimaginable horrors that they've lived with for their entire lives since they were very, very young. But these are also similar stories that many children, teenagers, women, and even men are enduring nightmares right now as we speak. You see, these women have been fighting since the 1990s. I heard one woman tell us yesterday since 1996. And they have carried with them shame. But I want to tell you something. The shame does not fall on these brave, courageous women. The shame falls on every single person that coldly turned a blind eye to their abuse. The shame falls on every single person that enabled it. The shame falls on every single person that took money to continue it. And the shame falls on the people in power over the past several decades that protected the monster, Jeffrey Epstein, and his cabal that continued a nightmare. Those people deserve the shame. And today we are coming forward and we are going to fight like hell for these women, because we have to fight like hell for those that are enduring sexual abuse and are living in a prison of shame. Anyone that is being abused, it is not your fault. You should live with no guilt or fear or shame. all of
The stream is refreshing, of course.
you should live with no guilt or fear or shame. All of
That's interesting.
you should live with no guilt or fear or shame. All of the fault, Israel and other countries. The truth needs to come out, and the government holds the truth. The cases that are sealed hold the truth. Jeffrey Epstein's estate holds the truth. The FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA holds the truth. And the truth we are demanding come out on behalf of these women, but also as a strong message to every innocent child, teenager, woman, and man that is being held captive in abuse. This should never happen in America, and it should never be a political issue that divides us. And I want to thank Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie for doing something brave, crossing political boundaries for a very important fight. And I'm honored to join both of them. And I'm honored that Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert signed the discharge petition along with myself. And I asked my Republican colleagues not to choose just one path for justice and transparency and accountability, but I asked my Republican colleagues to choose every path for justice and accountability and transparency. And with that, I'd like to bring back Congressman Ro Khanna to start this important press conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman Green, for your courage and for being here. And thank you again to Congressman Massey for co-leading it. I now would like to introduce two people who have been fighting this for decades. They haven't had their voice heard. The victims haven't been heard. They haven't just been on this in the last few months. They've been doing this in the wilderness for years, and they are really models of courage. Bradley Edwards and Brittany Henderson, who are the attorneys for the victims. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ro and Thomas Massey. I really appreciate you putting forth this discharge petition. It's tough to understand that we have to be here because this doesn't seem like a partisan issue. This is an issue. Sex trafficking and sexual abuse transcends politics. We as Americans expect equal protection under the law, and there can be no doubt that Jeffrey Epstein received far greater protection than any of the victims that he abused for years. In 2008, Courtney Wild walked into my office because she was a part of a federal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, where all she wanted was the government to talk to her. Little did she know the government had worked out a secret immunity deal for Jeffrey Epstein, and we had to file Jane Doe's versus United States of America to prove that Jeffrey Epstein worked out an illegal non-prosecution agreement with the government. That was 2008. It took us 10 years battling the government pro bono for the judge to ultimately determine that the victims' rights were violated. The government has mistreated them after Jeffrey Epstein mistreated them. We then filed civil lawsuits against Ghislaine Maxwell, which has resulted in her being in prison. Our civil lawsuits led to her prosecution. We filed lawsuits against Jeffrey Epstein, against his estate, and against two financial institutions, JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank, that proved that they knowingly provided the financial infrastructure for a sex trafficking operation. Unfortunately, all of the documents and evidence that we have worked so hard to gather hide behind protective orders, confidentiality agreements, and bank secrecy laws. That is why this discharge petition is so important. While we have seen the documents, you haven't. And when you see the documents, you're going to be appalled. And the American people deserve to see everything. When you sign the
Friends, if you could keep tapping, I'd appreciate that. We try to avoid the restrictions. Tapping, join the team if you haven't. A small gift, a rose or a heart, that helps keep us up.
Made available. Those in the possession of the FBI going back decades should be made available. The SEC, financial records in the possession of FinCEN should be made available. Everybody knows that evil Evil flourishes in the darkness. Corruption flourishes in secrecy. It is time right now to make a difference for the women that are behind me right now. They have been courageous and fought through this whole thing. Whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, this one is an easy call. You're an American who cares about equal rights and equal protection under the law. If you care about these women, if you care about our country, and you care about this issue, this should pass with flying colors. I really appreciate everybody being here.
Woo! Hi, good morning. My name is Brittany Henderson, and I think in addition to thanking the wonderful congressmen and women who are here today, we need to thank the women, and not just the women who are going to speak, but the other women who are standing behind them, along with other lawyers, Sigrid McCauley, and people who have been fighting for a very, very long time for the world to give this kind of attention to an issue that it should have had forever. This administration has the opportunity to do what the past administrations did not do. This administration can either stand with the victims and stand for the victims, or it can continue to hurt the victims like has happened in the past. We aren't here just to ask for transparency, though. We're here too to ask for protection. The women here represent hundreds of other women who we have spoken to, many of whom were trafficked from other countries, from Eastern European countries where women don't have the rights that we have here. Women don't have the protections that we have here. And those women are terrified that their names will be released in these files. The government won't know that they're victims to redact and protect them. So we ask that you please, whoever is going to be in charge of redacting these files and in charge of this transparency, do it in a way that protects the women brave enough to be here, but also protects the women who are terrified that every day when they turn the TV on, something bad is going to happen to them in Ukraine, in Russia, in whatever country they live in, because no one is listening to them there. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And please protect these women while we seek transparency.
Good morning. My name is Anushka DeGiorgio, and I stand before you today as a survivor of both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I want to thank Congressman Massey and Khanna for their role in putting together this very, very important bill. Every day of this journey toward healing has come at a profound cost to my mental health. But I am here. I chose to come because this bill really matters. I speak today not only in service of my own recovery from trauma inflicted by Maxwell and Epstein, but to honor the lives, the courage, and sacrifices of Virginia Giuffre, Caroline Andriano, and others who could not continue. Their voices mattered. Their stories must not be forgotten. Accountability is what makes a society civilized. Equal opportunity and equal consequence for all. Consequences are not about punishment alone. They exist to deter future harm, to protect vulnerable, and to set a standard of justice. If Ghislaine Maxwell were pardoned, it would undermine all the sacrifices I made to testify and make mockery of mine and all survivors' suffering. That is why the Epstein Files Transparency Act is so essential. It requires the Department of Justice release all the records related to Epstein and Maxwell investigations, flight logs, immunity deals, internal communications, and even the records surrounding Epstein's detention and death. And crucially, it forbids withholding documents simply because of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. This is about ending secrecy wherever abuse of power takes root. But transparency alone is not enough. Survivors need protection, resources, and legal support. If this Congress is serious about justice, then let this moment also affirm your commitment to provide victims with the legal aid they need to confront abusers, to navigate complex systems, and to reclaim their power. Transparency must be matched by support, or else too many victims will remain silent out of fear and lack of access. The statistics demand action. Nearly 1 in 5 women in America will experience rape or attempted rape in her lifetime. Every 74 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted. Every 9 minutes, that person is a child. These are not numbers. They are people. They are your daughters, your sons, your constituents, your friends. Statistically, 1 in 5 of your families will face this nightmare. The days of sweeping this under the rug are over. We, the survivors, say no more. I want to help create a world where survivors of sexual abuse and abuse of power can come forward safely. And I ask Congress to join me in that effort, not only by passing this bill, but by ensuring that those who step forward have legal support to face their abusers and see justice done. When Judge Berman gave Epstein survivors the chance to finally speak, the world listened. After so many years, survivors were heard. That moment was historic, and so is this moment. For me, the turning point was when I had my daughter, and on the day she was born, I knew I had a responsibility to protect her and to protect all children. I have to use my voice, the voice that had been silenced by fear and shame for so many years. Make no mistake, my polished exterior is a shield hiding a wound that still bleeds. But through this wound, I have found purpose. To be part of lasting change in how we confront exploitation and abuse. And to be clear, the only motive for opposing this bill would be to conceal wrongdoing. You have a choice. Stand with the truth, or with the lies that have protected predators for decades. I am no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. And I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us. Because we need it now, and this country needs it now. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Annie Farmer, and I was 16 years old when I was flown to New Mexico to spend a weekend with Epstein and Maxwell. That same year, 1996, my sister, Maria Farmer, reported what happened to me there, along with reporting her own assault at their hands and their theft of sensitive photos of herself, of me, and our younger sister that she had taken for her work as a figurative painter. I am now 46 years old. 30 years later, we still do not know why that report wasn't properly investigated, or why Epstein and his associates were allowed to harm hundreds, if not thousands, of other girls and young women. We have never been told whether those images were found when they discovered a large amount of child sexual abuse material on his property. As a psychologist, I understand that when the systems meant to protect us recreate the abuse cycle, the betrayal that occurs can be just as damaging as the original trauma. This happens when survivors of these crimes are not believed, when our well-being is not weighed as heavily as those who have more resources or more privilege, and when perpetrators of these crimes are given a platform rather than the survivors of them. For so many years, it felt like Epstein's criminal behavior was an open secret. Not only did many others participate in the abuse, it is clear that many were aware of his interest in girls and very young women and chose to look the other way because it benefited them to do so. They wanted access to his circle and his money. Their choice to align with his power left those of us who had been harmed by this man and his associates feeling very isolated. I could never have imagined being here today and this chorus of support that we have all received. I have been sent so many notes and messages from people with no direct connection to this case who've expressed their solidarity with us. And I believe that is because, in part, as Anushka explained so well, this is an extremely widespread issue of child sexual abuse, of sexual exploitation, of sexual violence. This affects almost every family in some way. From my conversations with with women in these last few days and from all of the support that we've received is very clear to me that we are not going away, we are not going to be quiet, and we are not going to give up. And I ask the American public to stand with us and not give up. At a time with record high levels of distrust in our institutions and a perception that there are two Americas, one for those with power and privilege and one for everyone else, passing this Epstein transparency bill is one important step that can be taken to prove to Americans that the government does not side with sexual perpetrators. A thorough public review of this information is an important step in preventing the type of systemic failures that have occurred in this case and harmed all of us. An important step towards healing for those involved. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for being here today on this very powerful and special day for all of us here. My name is Marina Lacerda. I was minor victim 1 in federal indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in New York in 2019. I was one of dozens of girls that I personally know who were forced into Jeffrey's mansion on 9 East 71 Street in New York City when we were just kids. Today is the first time that I ever speak publicly about what happened to me. I never thought that I would find myself here. The only reason that I am here is because it feels like the people who matter in this country finally care about what we have to say. As an immigrant from Brazil, I feel empowered knowing that the little girl struggling to get by at 14 and 15 years old finally has a voice. For the first time, I feel like I matter as an American. I was only 14 years old when I met Jeffrey. It was the summer of high school. I was working 3 jobs to try to support my mom and my sister when a friend of mine in the neighborhood told me that I could make $300 to give an older guy a massage. It went from a dream job to the worst nightmare. Jeffrey assistant Leslie Groff would call me and tell me that I needed to be at the house so often that I ended up dropping out of high school before 9th grade. And I never went back. From 14 to 17 years old, I went and worked for Jeffrey instead of receiving an education. Every day I hoped that he would offer me a real job as one of his assistants or something important. I would finally have made it big, as like we say, the American dream. That day never came. I had no way out. I was, until he finally told me that I was too old. There are many pieces of my story that I can't remember, no matter how hard I try. The constant state of wonder causes me so much fear and so much confusion. My therapist says that my brain is just trying to protect itself, but it's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. The worst part is that the government is still in possession right now of the documents and information about that could help me remember and get over all of this maybe and help me heal. They have documents with my name on them that were confiscated from Jeffrey Epstein's house and could help me put the pieces of my own life back together. But I don't have any of it. And I know the same is true for many of these women. We are here to support this bill today, not only for transparency, but for the American people. But if the government is going to release these documents to the public, describing the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein and others, the least that they can do is give me my documents that they have about me. The other survivors deserve the same respect from our government. While identifying information must be redacted to the public, it is equally important to provide the victims themselves with unredacted information. I will never forget when the FBI agent showed up in my door in 2008. Jeffrey Epstein hired a lawyer to represent me, or more like to represent him, I'd like to say. I couldn't ask any questions and I had no idea what was going on. I was terrified. Until today, I think most of us are still terrified. I thought somebody was going to my mother. It went further out to even maybe thinking something would happen in Brazil with my family. And then one day, the lawyer said that everything was just going to go away, like nothing happened. I didn't need to testify. When I asked him why, he gave no explanation. That was it. So why? Why was I never called to testify then? We could have saved so many women. We could have saved so many lives from being abused. Why did he get away with it in 2008? Why was he able to go on in the abuse with hundreds of girls after the Florida investigation? Why didn't they let me testify to help stop him? Our government could have saved so many women, but Jeffrey Epstein was
SubhanAllah, with all respect, obviously everyone has an aim, at least it's an aim. I happen to say, you know what? You may want to change that over time. It may change. You may not have the Ferrari. I know of people who own Ferraris and Bugattis and Lamborghinis, and they get fed up and tired. For them, it's nothing. You can't even drive the car. It's not practical. You've only clocked 90 kilometers on it, and each time you drove it, you had 2,000 ringgit fine, minimum, because of speeding. Subhanallah. So they then tell you, I didn't think you really want to drive it. You rather go and test drive one or pay in order to take one for a ride, and that's enough for you. You know, like they say nowadays with the social media and Instagram and everything else, you have people who've gone on holiday. They are considered not having gone on holiday if they haven't taken photographs. And those who have not gone on holiday, they are considered holiday makers for as long as they have photographs, even if they're photoshopped. So there are people who show you, we are in Langkawi, we are here, we are in Penang, and they're just at home. They have a background, and that's it. Taking photos, that's it. Let's not fool ourselves, my brothers and sisters. Let's understand, we need to live the real life. When you aim high. So this young man, the Prophet ﷺ says, ask me. He says, Ya Rasulullah, as'aluka murafaqataka fil jannah. All I want, and this is a young boy, Rabi'at ibn Ka'b radiallahu anhu, all I want is to be in your company in paradise. That's it. So the Prophet ﷺ looks at him and says, is there anything else? You know, is there something else perhaps? You know, maybe you're just asking. He says, no, that's it. I just want your company in paradise. Now that is such a smart way of putting it, because you're going to be in the highest level of Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ is not someone ordinary. He's not an ordinary person. He's the Nabi of Allah. He's the best of creation. He is the highest of the lot. He will be the highest rank in Jannah. Subhanallah. So the Prophet ﷺ told him something that I want to share with you, and seriously share with you today. He says, help me or help yourself to achieve that. Or help me to help you to achieve that by finding yourself in prostration very often, which means fulfill your salah. If you really want paradise, make sure you fulfill your 5 daily prayers. Make sure you have the position of sujood, the position of prostration. Make sure you are in it very, very often. Then you will get what you've just asked for. He didn't just say, okay, you will have it. He showed him the way, and you need to be serious about it. I cannot say, I want to achieve this, and I'm busy sleeping at home. I cannot say, I want a job, and I haven't looked for it. I cannot say, I want a promotion, and I haven't worked hard. I cannot say, I want to study, and I've done nothing about it. I cannot say, I want to speak the Arabic language. Someone yesterday told me my wish is to speak the Arabic language. I said, my brother, stop wishing and start doing something about it. That's a mu'min. That's a true believer. How long am I going to continue saying my wish is to learn the Arabic language? Keep wishing. We wish for things that we don't have, and we keep on wishing until the day we die. Do something about it. Get up, go and search, ask people, get the course. It might be online, it might be in your neighborhood. You don't know. So many things are happening in this beautiful country of yours. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and bless us all. Do something about it. This is why the Prophet ﷺ says, you want Jannah with me? Do something about it. What is it? Salah, don't miss. And if your salah is not missed, the rest of your deen will be solidified as time passes. If you are serious with your prayer, everything else will solidify. So I want to ask you the question today. What is it that you are aiming for as a believer? The true answer should be Jannah. I hope everyone said it. Paradise. That's what we want. In this world, we will struggle. In this world, we will go through lots of difficulty. We spoke about it yesterday. Many of the other speakers spoke about the same. But we need to realize, if you want paradise, there is a way of getting it. The Prophet ﷺ says, Ala inna sil'atallahi ghaliyah. Behold, the commodity of Allah is expensive. What is the commodity? It is Jannah. And I've always given an example of a person who's bought a house, hire purchase or mortgage. They are paying on a monthly basis, installments. When you miss one payment, what happens? You might be fined. You miss 2 or 3 payments, you can lose the house, even if you've